Apologize, we had a few technical difficulties, but we have it fixed.
So we're
This is the, regular commission meeting for the month of January. The date is January 9th, 2025. Trying to move the year a little forward ahead, I guess. This is also our monthly CRA meeting. With that, Karen, I do want to introduce, for those of you that are unaware, Karen has taken a new position in Palatka. And this is going to be Karen's last commission meeting.
I'll be here Saturday.
She'll be here Saturday.
Friday,
And we're very excited for Karen. And we have since City Manager Brillhart has hired Melanie. And so Melanie is our new clerk.
Melanie Ames.
Melanie Ames. And Melanie is our new clerk. So which one of you would like to do roll call?
I'm gonna do it because Melanie's a little nervous.
I'm shadowing tonight.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So if you would do the roll call,
I
please.
did make her a cheat sheet too, she still said no.
Okay.
Commissioner DeVito? Present. Commissioner Lori?
Present.
Commissioner Moore?
Present.
Commissioner Burton?
Here.
Mayor Myers?
Present.
City Manager Michael Burley?
Yes.
City Attorney John Holmes?
Here.
Putnam County Sheriff's Office Captain David Guthrie?
Here.
Putnam County Sheriff's Office Shannon Dupuy?
Here.
City Planner Mark Farret?
Here.
CRA Manager Christina Marie?
Here.
Finance Director Stephen Coughlin?
Here.
Special Guest Commissioner Harry Banks?
Present.
He wasn't expecting that. Thank you, Karen. Everyone is here. And with that, I'm going to ask Commissioner Moore if she would lead us in the invitation. No, you know what? Thank you for your willingness to do that. Commissioner Banks, would you honor us and lead us in your invitation, please? Everyone stand if you're able, please.
Father, once again, we thank you for your loving kindness and all your mercy and how you have been blessing us. God, we continue to pray for the strength of the commission, continue to watch over our city and our citizens and adjacent to our community. We ask this in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And with that, if we could please just have a moment of silence in recognition of our 39th president, President Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
I think that also goes out to all the people in California. Our hearts and prayers are with everyone and what they're going through out there. You know, it's days like that, that we realize how blessed we are when, how blessed we are. And Commissioner DeVito, did you want to say something about President Carter?
Well, actually, obviously, is my mic on? Okay, it seems different. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like I'm not close enough to it. Anyway, obviously, this can't be planned for. The late president passed away December 29th, shortly after Christmas. I brought the biography from the website of the Carter Center, which is where his presidential library is. And if you will bear with me, and if other commissioners want to take part, we could each read a section, but it's his official biography. It's very interesting. It's not that long. Okay. So I was going to read a section and then pass it down.
Okay.
I have that number. So anyway, Jimmy Carter, I just want to mention, I think his life, besides being our 39th president, is very significant for Crescent City because he was a president from a small town, Plains, Georgia, then of 700 people. And according to the news in his biography, although Several presidents have been from small towns and rural backgrounds. Jimmy Carter was the only president who went back and lived out his life in a small town. But anyway, he was a very exceptional person. Jimmy Carter, 39th President of the United States and founder of the Carter Center, was born October 1st, 1924 in the small farming town of Plains, Georgia, and grew up in the nearby community of Archery. His father, James Earl Carter Sr., was a farmer and businessman. His mother, Lillian Gordy Carter, was a registered nurse. Carter was educated in the public school of Plains, attended Georgia Southwestern College and the Georgia Institute of Technology, and received a bachelor's degree from the United States Naval Academy in 1946. In the Navy, he became a submariner, serving in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets and rising to the rank of lieutenant. He was chosen by Admiral Hyman Rickover for the nuclear submarine program. He was assigned to Schenectady, New York, where he took graduate work at Union College in reactor technology and nuclear physics, and served as a senior officer of the pre-commissioning crew of the Seawolf, the second nuclear submarine.
On July 7th, 1946, he married Rosalind Smith of Plains. When his father died in 1953, he resigned his naval commission and returned with his family to Georgia. He took over the Carter Farms, and he and Rosalind operated Carter's Warehouse, a general-purpose seed and feed supply company in Plains. He quickly became a leader of the community, serving on county boards supervising education, the hospital authority, and the library. In 1962, he won elections to the Georgia Senate. He lost his first gubernatorial campaign in 1966, but won the next election, becoming Georgia's 76th governor on January 12, 1971. He was the Democratic National Committee campaign chairman for the 1974 congressional and gubernatorial elections. Okay. So do you want to pass this on to here?
Doesn't matter, you can pass that on to the mayor, so she goes to the bottom of the page.
So, on December 12, 1974, he announced his candidacy for President of the United States. He won his party's nomination on the first ballot at the 1976 Democratic National Convention, and he was elected president on November 2nd of 1976, which was also a bicentennial year. Jimmy Carter served as president from January 20th, 1977 to January 20th of 1981. Significant foreign policy accomplishments of his administration include the Panama Canal treaties, the Camp David Accords, the Treaty of Peace between Egypt and Israel, the SALT II Treaty with the Soviet Union, and the establishment of U.S. diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China. He championed human rights throughout the world. On the domestic side, the administration's achievements included a comprehensive energy program conducted by a new Department of Energy, deregulation in energy, transportation, communications, and finance, major educational programs under a new Department of Education, and major environmental protection legislation, including the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act, which doubled the size of the national park system and tripled the wilderness area.
So I'm not sure.
Commissioner DeVito works with governor and follow your decision about areas.
Just go to page 3.
The next.
Okay, the Carter Center. In 1982, he became University Distinguished Professor of Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and with Rosalind Carter, founded the Carter Center. The nonpartisan and the nonprofit center addresses national and international issues of public policy. Carter Center's staff and associates have joined with President Carter in efforts to resolve conflict, promote democracy, protect human rights, and prevent disease and other afflictions. The center has spearheaded the international effort to aggravate general worm disease, which is posed to be the second human disease in history to be eradicated. Okay. Okay, we'll go for.
There's a door to you.
That's the last one, Jimmy? I think it's over.
God, you got the hard work.
Yeah.
President Carter and the Carter Center have engaged in conflict mediation in Ethiopia, Eritrea, North Korea, Libya, Liberia, Haiti, Bosnia, Sudan, the Great Lakes region of Africa, Sudan and Uganda, Venezuela, Nepal, Ecuador, and Colombia, the Middle East, and Mali. Under his leadership, the Carter Center has sent 114 election observation missions to the Americas, Africa, and Asia. These include Panama, Nicaragua, China, Nigeria, Indonesia, East Timor, Mexico, Guatemala, Venezuela, Ethiopia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Nepal, Lebanon, Sudan, Tunisia or something, Egypt, Kenya, Mozambique, Myanmar, Libya, and Ghana. The permanent facilities of the Carter Presidential Center were dedicated in October 1986 and include the Jimmy Carter Library Museum, administered by the National Archives. Also open to visitors is the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park in Plains, administered by the National Park Service. Until 2020, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter volunteered 1 week a year for Habitat for Humanity, a nonprofit organization that helps needy people in the United States and in other countries renovate and build homes for themselves. He also taught Sunday school at the Maranatha Baptist Church of Plains. The Carters have 3 sons, 1 daughter, 9 grandsons, 1 deceased, 3 granddaughters, 5 great-grandsons, and 9 great-granddaughters. Boy, that's a lot to look after. On December 10th, 2002, the Norwegian Nobel Committee awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2002 to Jimmy Carter for his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. On February 18, 2023, President Carter decided to spend his remaining time at home with his family and receive hospice care. Jimmy Carter, if you remember, he ran against a man by the name of Gerald Ford, and he won. But just for some trivia, next time you go to trivia, it's going to come up now. Jimmy Carter and both Gerald Ford became very, very good friends. And at one point in time, they decided with each other to each write the eulogies for their funeral. So Jimmy Carter, of course, wrote Gerald Ford's, and Gerald Ford wrote his, and today they were read off, by the way, on television. So I just think that that's tells you a lot about Jimmy Carter.
Thank you, Commissioner DeVito, for bringing this to us. My sister and my brother-in-law own a farm just not very far, and he is a avid fan of his, and every opportunity he could go to meet him and even go to the Sunday school class. The one thing about being an elected official is people do it for many reasons, but ultimately it's a privilege. And as an elected official, we always want to hope that we leave the place better than we found it. And I think he sets the bar for that. No matter what he did, he made sure that he left wherever he was better than he was when he arrived. And so our thoughts are with his and his family. Thank you all for doing this, and of course for Commissioner DeVito for bringing that to our attention. And you have one of his
biographies, that was actually my grandmother's book, An Hour Before Daylight by Jimmy Carter. It's wonderful. It tells growing up in Plains, Georgia on a farm during the Depression, when most of the work was done by hand in the plow fields. It really is just a wonderful description.
And if you would like, you can check it out at the Vito County Library. I'm not sure what the deposit is, but I'm sure there'll be a pretty steep deposit. Very steep, especially at that time. Okay, with that, I'm gonna, start with our announcements. We've got this, coming up on January 16th at 4 o'clock. The Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society is going to host their speaker series, and Rob Matson, he's a U.S. Navy and Coast Guard in the World War II in Northeast Florida. He is going to speak. They'll present an overview of the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard bases and activities in Northeast Florida during World War II. You won't want to miss that. That is always at the Crescent City Women's Club at 604 North Summit Street. Also, with the Women's Club, that's the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society that's hosting that. They're having their bunko, and this is really taking off. It's the third Wednesday of each month. At this time, it will be January 15th from 1 to 3 o'clock. The cost is $6. If you don't know how to play, please come and they will teach you. Snacks and drinks will be available for a minimal charge, and that is at a women's club at 604 North Summit Street. They have their bingo, which continues, and that's on Friday, January 17th. Beginning at, the doors open at 5, bingo starts at 5:45. Please don't be late. $20 for bingo and dinner. And the jackpot payout is $50. Tickets are available at the door. All winners will be paid with local gift certificates. And you must be 18 years of age to play. There also, the Crescent City Women's Club on February 7th through 8th is going to have their yard and bake sale. That will be from 8 to 4. And then, of course, we've got our Crescent City Arbor Day Community Celebration. That's going to be Saturday, January 25th, 2025, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Eva Lyon Park. Tree planting is going to be at 10 a.m. at Mathis Park. A tree giveaway by Forester Blake Josephson and plant exchange by Gene Bowerman. Free packages of seed donated by Ace Hardware. You can meet the Putnam County Horticulture agent, Julio Perez. Hot dogs and hot chocolate are available for sale by Cindy Craft with Hawaiian Ice. So that's always a nice event and always usually well attended. So we have stuff going on again. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. We are off of holiday now, and we are back in business. The trees, just for anybody that's asking, I know there's been some questions. The big Christmas tree will be coming down next week. The lights on January 15th in the park, so please tell everyone to enjoy them right now as much as they can. But the lights will go dim on January 15th. They will stay in the trees until the Soul Food Festival. And then they'll light the park up for the Soul Food Festival, and then the lights will come down. Along the medians, Ronnie and staff are working to take them out of the canopies, but they're going to keep the trunks wrapped for right now. It's really a nice added bonus as you drive through town, and with our canopies during winter being the way they are, it just lends, it's just a nice look. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go to our minutes. Commission, you have before you the December 12th, 2024 regular minutes and the December 12th, 2024 CRA minutes. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the December 12th regular minutes with some corrections.
Okay, have your corrections been sent?
I did not send them.
Okay, do we have, second? I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Lori, do you want to go through your corrections?
Just a few. On this, there's no mention of the CRA meeting and when it starts and ends, like when we adjourn. I did not see that in there. And then also on the bottom of the page 2, there's this Commissioner Lori moved to approve the A1A architect from Better Business Funds. That needs to just be stricken and replaced with, I move the approval of Robert Taylor and Associates, which is the name of his organization, from Better Places Plan Funds, if allowed. or if allowed from the grant funds, like it says. I don't know where A1A architect came from. Robert Taylor is an AIA architect, but A1A is not.
I think that's that's probably where it came from, it happens to be a one. So, anyway,
And then the next thing, it says budget requirement for city manager interview process. There was nothing on there as far as our discussions and what we decided on.
And didn't we vote?
I thought we had a vote to appoint the mayor as the coordinator.
Right, well, actually, and this goes with mine, I sent to one of the clerks, either incoming or outgoing, also corrections, and those were sent out electronically, so I don't know who got them and who didn't. But I noted the same thing, under budget requirement for city manager interview process, there's no information, and I'm pretty sure that we voted, to allocate a certain amount of funds. So that needs to be addressed. Didn't we vote?
no,
on
we did
that?
not vote to allocate a certain amount of funds, we were told how much funds we had available, that Steve was able to find, but we never set a budget for this, not knowing, we didn't know what it was going to cost. But he said-
Needs to be under there.
But he did say, but Steve did, is that correct, Steve?
Yes, there was an amount we came up with.
Yeah, he gave us an amount, was it 2,500, I believe?
I think it was 35.
Was it 35? Okay, I knew it was something in that we had available, for their travel and their travel and their hotel and such. So we'll just make that correction. Do we have anybody else, any other corrections?
I did, I don't know if anyone saw what I sent out, but, on page 1, under public comment, where it says Pat Langen commented on the phone service, it should be city phone service and then being frequently out of order. And the second part of that sentence, she said she would like the parade, that reference was to the Christmas parade, moved to a different time. So that was the parade she was talking about. Particularly under business items, it needs to say what parade and who.
It should,
Right.
it was for the Soul Food
Right,
Festival,
so
and I got that, was what I meant.
I wrote that out, I said, to make it shorter, approval of parade and alcohol in the park for concerned citizens, Soul Food Festival. And then under that heading, I said, concerned citizens nonprofit group requested approval for a parade on US 17 and a permit to serve alcohol in Eagle Lion Park, for their Soul Food Festival to be held February, and I think it's 2 days, I don't remember the dates.
Yes,
The date should go in there.
it is,
So there was that, because
it's actually 3 days, but.
right, it needs to say who and what dates we approved it for.
Okay.
Tree donation, under tree donation for a location along Main Street, said Commissioner DeVito spoke on this subject and explained her tree donation. It's actually the offer of a tree donation to the city from her and her husband. We had offered it and then y'all accepted it. Farther down on that page, I think that's page 2, under appointing Elizabeth Gomez to the chair position for Tree and Garden Board. After Commissioner DeVito, it should say move to appoint, as opposed to appointed, just so it should be moved to appoint, Elizabeth Gomez. And then Commissioner Lori mentioned the rest of the page. Then on page 3, let's see, I don't know, I think it's on the pages that I sent in. An explanation under Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society for partial funding to place a historical marker at Hubbard House, Dan Dodge. I just wrote in, Dan Dodge spoke about the marker at Hubbard House, which is a residence on the National Register of Historic Places and the only individual site in Crescent City. The FPHS requested the city to give $1,700, 50% of the cost for the marker to be unveiled during Preservation Week in May 2025. That's what he was asking. And then under City Commission, says a reminder of the date that was picked for the golf cart ordinance. It really would sound much nicer if we could substitute chosen for picked. And that's all I have.
Okay, the last at the very end where it says the motion passed and adjourned, all A's. It should be English speakers.
Oh, there,
That's it. What about if we go over onto the CRA? Do you have any changes on the CRA?
My only change was that there's no PM at the end for the adjournment time. It says Mayor Myers closed the CRA at 10:35.
Okay, and this should be approved on the 9th day of January 2025.
Yes.
I think that's it. Okay, with that, any other discussion?
I'm going to do,
Okay,
okay, I'm going to do the CRA separate. I just made a motion.
oh, I thought you did them together. Okay, then we'll do the first one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, so approved. We'll go on to, I need a motion for the CRA.
I move that we approve the CRA minutes with the corrections and mentioned.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion to second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, so approved. And at that time, we're gonna open this up to public comments.
We have one.
Do we have one? Thank you very much. Okay, we have, Ms. Sykes, Diane Sykes, if you would please, we want all issues. So if you want to,
I don't have anything right now.
okay. Okay, then I'm gonna put you to the side and I'll just go back to you as we go forward. Do we have any other comments from anybody that they would like to come forward? Please do it this time, state your name, your address if you please.
Elizabeth Gomez Lopez, 19 Cedar Street, and since we are a little community, a little town, I just wanted a little second moment of silence for BJ Lori and his lady Lori, his cat for many, many years that was put to rest today.
He's gonna cry now.
We of course are very sorry for your loss, as always, our animals love us like, definitely love us like humans do, so. We're sorry for your loss, you and Rachel both. With that, we don't have anybody else for public comment, I'm gonna close public comment at this time. I'm gonna take these out of order a little bit if I can. Is Commissioner okay if I take these out of order? Then we have proclamation. I'm going to start with our proclamation. Liz Gomez, you want to come forward? We're going to do our proclamation, the City of Crescent City, Proclamation 2025-02, celebrating Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Michelle Myers, Mayor of the City of Crescent City, do hereby proclaim January 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the city of Crescent City, and I urge all citizens to celebrate this day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote well-being for this and future generations. Dated this 9th day of January, 2025.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Liz. Do you want to have anything you want to say as our chairman of the tree board?
Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be able to step to this glorious position that many, many have before me, and I'll do my best.
Thank you, Liz. Would you like a picture with the commission, or are you? Okay. Okay, then let's get a picture with the commission. No, I can stand, if I stand here with Liz, I think we can get, y'all good? Everybody put on happy faces.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Liz has also just been chosen as, from the partnership, as our volunteer of the year once again. If it's happening, Liz is at it. And if you want to know what's going on, Liz will know.
Mayor, before we leave Arbor Day, I would like to ask, I understand there's now an Arbor Day flyer. Did you have that in your packet of announcements? Because I was told that there's now an Arbor Day flyer. I think last year, or the year before, our clerk produced it.
Oh, you got one? That's a proclamation. I don't have it.
Michelle, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the update flyer is sitting over there on the, when you enter,
Oh, when you enter?
when you sign in, the flyers go over there.
So the flyers are over there.
Right, so my request is if the flyer could be shared electronically with everyone and as well posted on the city Facebook page, so that people can share it on other Facebook pages.
I read off of this, so I did have a flyer, thank you.
That's what I thought I saw it, because it was
I did
pretty.
have a flyer, it was very nicely done.
So anyway, and we just had a question from a member of the public about it being on the city website. I don't see it on there, but I definitely don't see it on the city Facebook page. So if we could all get this electronically and have it put on the city Facebook page, that would be a big start.
Okay, thank you. With that, we kind of have a surprise, we have a surprise resolution, a proclamation. And this is for our clerk, Karen Hayes. So Karen, if you would come forward. Tonight is proclamation night.
You're next.
That's for your new desk. Thank you. And then you can open this. And I can read from here. So this is a proclamation honoring Crescent City Clerk Karen Hayes for her dedicated service. And whereas City Clerk Karen Hayes has served the city of Crescent City, Florida, fulfilling her duties with outstanding dedication, professionalism, and preservation as the city's municipal clerk since, your start date was? 2021. And whereas Karen contributed to the city's operations by working tirelessly to achieve her clerk certification, training, and education while diligently carrying out the responsibilities of her role as clerk and assisting in maintaining the functions of the city. And whereas during her time with the city of Crescent City, Karen worked to support the city commission, staff, and residents, navigating challenges and fostering positive connections with the community. And whereas Karen's unwavering commitment to maintaining transparency, efficiency, and accountability in municipal operations has greatly enhanced the quality of governance, and service of delivery in our community. And Karen has consistently demonstrated exemplary character, integrity, and dedication to serving the residents, staff, and elected officials of Crescent City. And whereas Karen's contributions have left an indelible mark on the city of Crescent City, and her presence will be greatly missed, by all who had the privilege to work alongside her. And whereas Karen will be leaving the city of Crescent City to pursue a new professional opportunity, and as she embarks on this new chapter of her career, the city wishes to express its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes for her and her future endeavors. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Myers, Mayor of the City of Crescent City, Florida, along with the City Commission and the residents of Crescent City, do hereby recognize and commend Karen Hayes for her service and contributions to the city and our community, and we all extend our deepest appreciation for her time with us. And witness whereas, Michelle Myers, Mayor of Crescent City, have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Crescent City. This has been very difficult to do, Karen, because normally you do these.
That's why I'm really surprised.
So people had to sneak in and get your paper, which by the way, probably should be locked up. They had to sneak in and get paper, and we have a frame for it, and I believe they're working on her desk. On her desk, I say. So we do have a frame for it, so you can take it with you. But Karen, you come in, you have a smile on your face, you do your very best always for all of us. And you will be greatly missed, I know, by myself. And I'm sure if the commission has anything that they would like to say. Thank you, and we just wish you just much success and much joy. And you can open your present. You wanna say?
I knew, something was up, especially today. They were running around me like cats, and, my dad has like 5 cats, and when I go up the stairs, they scatter. That's what it was like today, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm only here for half a day, and I have to train Melanie, come on, this is ridiculous, but it worked out, Melanie's getting trained, and, I'm leaving the office to her, after this weekend, but I will mentor her, and show her the ropes as we go. If she needs me, she can call me at any time. My door is always open. So I want to thank the commission for giving me this opportunity these past few years. And the mayor, relationships have developed, and it's hard. It was a hard decision. And Reggie, it was a hard decision, and I have my bestie to thank for helping me make it. Anyway, enough about it. Thank you, everybody.
Open your present. Open your present.
Came from Michelle's office.
How can you tell that? So, this is an inside thing. If you'll ever notice, Karen is always cold. I'm always cold. So it is always necessary that she has a sweater. And I am sure it's going to be cold. It's cold in Palaca, isn't it?
Yes. That building is really cold. It has brick walls, so it is really cold.
Yeah, I figured that. So she has that. And I believe you also have a,
I love it.
so, and you also have a calendar in there.
It has all your birthdays on it.
So it's a little, yeah, just so you can carry it along.
Thank you.
Karen, yes,
Can you and Karen get me some pictures?
Yeah. oh, you gonna take some pictures? So Karen, we thank you,
Thank you for the
and we
opportunity.
wish you, again, much success. How do y'all want to do this to continue?
Right here. I was able to get the picture.
You got a good picture with everybody, beyond.
Just like how it was, I was able to.
Here. We- It's always hard to say goodbye, but. And then that leads into our proclamation. Commissioner Banks. Commissioner Banks, do you want to come to the podium? This is so hard.
Yeah, I reckon I get it.
This is probably where I'm gonna have a hard time.
I told you were up next.
Put me to the pool, dude.
If I get there. This is actually proclamation 2025-01, the very first proclamation of the new year. City Commissioner Harry Banks for 40 years of dedicated service. And whereas, sorry about that. I guess I am human. Whereas Commissioner Harry Banks, a lifelong resident of Crescent City, served the city of Crescent City with steadfast dedication. First as a law enforcement officer with the city's police department, and then holding elected office as a city commissioner and vice mayor for an impressive 40 years, during which time he has provided exceptional leadership, commitment, and vision. And whereas throughout his tenure, Commissioner Banks has been instrumental in advancing numerous initiatives that have strengthened the community, supported local businesses, improved infrastructure, and enhanced the quality of life for residents. And whereas Commissioner Banks, a man with a servant's heart for both God and his city, has worked tirelessly to represent the interest of Crescent City, collaborating with city commission members, city staff, and residents to make thoughtful, impactful decisions and to ensure the city's progress. And whereas early every morning, regardless of the weather, Commissioner Banks, and often Mrs. Banks, drive through all the streets of Crescent City, checking on everything and everyone, ensuring this city is good and without any issues. He is most certainly the city's watchman, and the city is blessed through his watchful eye. And whereas Commissioner Banks has been a dedicated advocate for fiscal responsibility, transparency, and equality in city governments, earning the respect and admiration of his colleagues, city employees, Putnam County officials, and citizens alike. And whereas he has been a guiding force through his wisdom, experience, love for his community, and his common sense approach to problem solving, earning the respect and admiration of his colleagues, city employees.
Demonstrating resilience
Yes.
and commitment and unwavering dedication to Crescent City. And whereas, as Commissioner Banks' tenure ends, the city of Crescent City wishes to express profound gratitude for his many years of public service as both a law enforcement officer and city commissioner vice mayor, and to celebrate his legacy.
Now, therefore, I, Michelle Myers, Mayor of the City of Crescent City, on behalf of the City Commission and the citizens of Crescent City, do hereby express our heartfelt admiration and appreciation for a faithful public servant, retired vice mayor, and hero. I urge all residents to recognize and celebrate Commissioner Banks' remarkable contributions to our community. May he enjoy a well-deserved retirement filled with happiness, health, and fulfillment. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Crescent City to be affixed this 9th day of January 2025, passed and adopted by the City Commission. We have to pass this. The city of Crescent City, Florida, this 9th day of January 2025. Do I have a motion of acceptance?
So moved.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Just, Commissioner Banks, we miss you very much. There is no one like you for making peace and recognizing when we have had a profitable discussion and need to move on.
And I would just like to say that I've had the honor of serving with Commissioner Banks twice, but back in 2003, 2006, and then now. And I couldn't have asked for a better mentor and a better role model, especially when it comes to fashion. I can never live up to you, but I hope that, you enjoy your time off now. You definitely earned it.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Burrow.
Well, I sat next to you for 4 years, and I'll tell you what, I've learned an awful lot. You taught me to be quiet, to bite my tongue. No, it really, Harry is just the ultimate commissioner. I mean, he really had a lot of class, compassion for the city. He knew when to hold them, knew when to fold them. He just, I miss you a lot. And so,
Commissioner Moore.
Yes, Commissioner Banks and I go way back. I knew his mother. I grew up with his sisters. We sang in the choir together. We went to church together. We did all that together. So we're born and raised Crescent Citians. So you're true Crescent Citians. And I know you're gonna have a good retirement and enjoy yourself with your wife. You know, I'm gonna miss some of those things that you taught everybody up here, but I'm sure they're gonna pass them along to you. Like, you be blessed and keep on doing what you're doing. And it'll work out.
and please say hello to Ruby for me.
Will do.
Yes,
And
please.
the good thing is now we can go to him and say, we need some of your wisdom. Under your wisdom, can
We
you
can
please
talk
share?
now, I can complain to you all.
And just like that, thank you all of us, and I apologize that I got that this is,
Well,
Can I get an all eyes, Michelle, please?
Sorry, she cried all.
yeah, that I cried through the whole thing. Yeah, so if we have no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So,
it's been a pleasure working with each of you. I never have worked with such a good bunch. We didn't always agree, but we didn't fall out and knock each other down. And there's something about that 40, if I was gambling, man, I probably would play the lottery with 40. I worked with Florida Power like 40 years. Ready? So it's something about that 40. And I felt like it was time to get out here with my wife when I had the sickness. It was time for a younger face. It comes that time where the old ideas need to take the back burner and let the younger ideas step forward. But it's been a pleasure. With all the commissions that I have worked with, it's really been a pleasure. We didn't always agree. Well, you're not supposed to always agree on everything. But we didn't fall out. We still got along. So it's been a pleasure, and I really miss you guys, and already done got another position up in Tennessee. But I ain't gonna leave Crescent City. Well, that's where my roots are. So I'll be Crescent City all my life. That's all I know, Crescent City. When I first graduated, everybody said they wanted to go to New York. So I went to New York, stayed about 2 months, and I've been back to Florida and Crescent City ever since. So that showed me that I love Crescent City. And we got some good citizens in Crescent City. Very good citizens. People would understand how like we don't always agree. I mean, it's always supposed to be. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Commissioner,
Thank all of you.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Commissioner DeVito, it's been a pleasure. And my true friend, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
And I love Crescent City so good, I worked with him twice. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna run.
I got something for you real fast,
Oh, okay,
and then you can go,
okay.
and then you can go. So your commission, first off, we want to present you with the key to the city of Crescent City.
All right.
And then we also got for you, because he is the sharpest dresser
Yes.
on the
Yes, he
dais,
is.
and probably in all Crescent City, that we got for you, and this is a tie clip. And it says Emeritus City Commissioner, and then on the back, it says, your city honors you.
Now, is this gold so I can find it?
I should have known. So, but this is just an appreciation
Okay,
for your service and for all of you as you drive out of town in the evenings. Those lights, we can thank Commissioner Banks and thank FPL. I stayed on poor Carol about that. I said, Carol, and they did. We didn't realize it, a lot of people didn't realize it, but they had them lit before your last meeting.
right, yeah.
And, I said, those have got to be lit before Commissioner Banks. And so everybody, he is the reason for those lights. He's the reason for so many wonderful things here in Crescent City. And again, we all are so greatly appreciative, and you are so greatly missed.
I couldn't believe it, though. I was, when they come to 40 years,
I know.
they tell me I'm 8 years to get in line.
I know it. So come up here and let's get pictures. Oh, and I've got all this stuff. Did you get all this
I
stuff?
got it. So, a couple months ago, when you were supposed to retire, I had a book laid out so everybody can write in the book. So everybody wrote you a little message, and you can read it at your book. So everybody wrote a message to me with the thankful service.
Thank you.
There is your commissioner sign. You can hang it outside the wall.
I might hold on to that. I might can pawn that.
These are some cards, from the, of course, that's employees, and then Footloose Peninsula and all of that, and this is your very last packet.
Okay.
Okay, let's get a picture. Does everybody want to, let's come over and crowd in with them. We'll do it by Commissioner Morris so we can get it. Okay,
We
you
all
wanna come up
understand
here?
it up here. Okay.
I just look forward to him coming into the meetings and hearing what he has to say to us.
Man, you've been a good man, my good
Oh,
friend.
I feel like nice.
Come in and out there, she's really a friend.
Got just,
All right.
did you take some?
Two times.
He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly fellow. He's a jolly fellow. No one can deny.
Okay, I'm sorry to put you on down. I see the time I couldn't walk, but now I can walk.
I'm sure you're gonna walk out of it.
Okay.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Congratulations.
God bless all of you.
Okay, with that, Commissioner, we're gonna start with our sheriff's office report. Captain Usher, welcome.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
I'm saying that, but I'll go ahead and get started. I'll be as brief as I can. I mentioned, one of these things in the meeting last month, so shouldn't come as new news to you. We'll start off with an assault at Clemens Lane. That's normally not something we would report that daily, but it was a burglary that was involved with that. So basically what happened here was Mr. Addison, who was arrested for the assault, went to confront an individual he owed some money to, or that owed money to him. I guess he couldn't get the money at that time, so he decided to go physical with it. and actually entered our victim's vehicle, which made it to burglary, so it was a burglary with an assault. He was, like I said, he was arrested for that crime, for burglary and assault. The second there was 515 William Lane, which I spoke with you last month on, was the drive-by shooting that stemmed from an incident that happened down in D-Land. You see the two individuals that have since been identified and arrested for that shooting. Do you have any questions on that? I know that's a big event.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Well, I have one about the first one, Mr. Addison who was arrested
Okay.
for the assault on Clemens Lane. So he's not the same person who was recently arrested. There was a pair, and this is not in the report because I think it's for January.
You mean this week?
Oh, this
Oh,
week.
yes, so we had this week, absolutely, that's gonna be in, which some of those crimes that were on some reports in the months before that we knew that were, I told you we had some persons of interest in those crimes and a couple burglaries we had, well, ended up leading into the 1st of January where those two individuals were arrested, yes.
But that's not Mr. Addison, that's.
No, that's totally different.
That's your question, making sure.
That was my question.
That'll be in your January.
I mean, February.
When I show up February for January, for this month, yes.
Thank you.
Well, it's worked great, second together.
It was working earlier.
Perfect. Moving on to our traffic crash. Luckily, we only had one, Summit Road. This is kind of an interesting one. A vehicle was traveling south on Highway 17, turning in, making a left-hand turn into McDonald's. A vehicle was traveling northbound on 17, hit that car, shoved that car into another car that was at a stop sign at Grove Street, turning on 17. Does that make sense? Ah, nailed it. So there was actually 3 cars involved in that, but the one that was actually pulling into McDonald's was the one that
This was
caused.
probably Thursday, December 19th, I would imagine.
Brand new McDonald's in a hurry trying to get in there. Moving on to our general activities, I'll go from my piece of paper because it's hard for me to see it up there, but that is 219 calls for service, 74 traffic stops, 1 traffic accident, 12 total reports, 7 total arrests, and 1 of those arrests were paper arrests were charged before forwarded to the state attorney's office. That's looking at our 6-month crime comparison. Show you your total there was 100% increase, going from 1 FTO reportable crimes to 2.
And so that was the 2 assaults we were talking about right on the first page.
Excuse me?
Those were the 2 assaults. The one was a burglary.
Yeah, the burglary,
So that's what count.
the burglary, and then the shooting was an aggravated assault, so that's reported at FTO.
So that's what you changed.
So I'll move on to a couple of other topics. I've expressed to you, Mayor, my concern for the tree there at Central and Summit. It's getting lower and lower. It's down to right at about 99 feet, that a small compact car, I basically take a distance at where you would be sitting in a compact car to see where that would be at. At about 99%, you lose 100% visibility of that stoplight. So if you're, as you know, that as you're in a bigger truck, the higher you go up, the less visibility you have. So I merely went off of a compact car of what that distance is. It's about 99 feet right now. So it's went from about 130 feet to 99 feet over the last couple of years.
That was, there was a limb that fell this week. Waste Pro came through, caught it, and it fell. I guess it's been hanging possibly, and it missed the car. But, Michael, do you want to explain what action is being taken right now?
Yes, that tree is actually in the state right of way, managed and maintained, or managed by the Florida Department of Transportation. They contacted us and let us know that an arborist is going to come down and do an evaluation of that tree.
Okay, Mayor?
Yes.
I think it was several months ago I mentioned that the arborist the city hired to remediate that tree a number of years ago has been saying that it needed to be looked at. I think I said that 3 months ago in this meeting. So, just saying. So I'm glad somebody, FDOT is coming.
Well, and it takes a little while from DOT, yeah, it takes a while for DOT, so I think that they're staying on top of that right now.
Because I mean, really, if you look at it, it's not good. I mean, I'm not an arborist, so it's good to be evaluated. I don't stop under that tree when as a matter of fact, I don't even stop that stop anymore. I just.
Oh, that's it.
I know. I see where, you know, cracking, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna go there, you know, I just don't do it.
Commissioner Burton now, but if you see her approaching,
Just go away.
just get out of the way, she's not stopping. The limb did fall, and it wasn't on Central, it fell actually on Summit, which is even more dangerous, that it fell on Summit. So we're very blessed for that.
So I'll answer another question that Commissioner DeVito alluded to about the two individuals that were arrested. If we go back to the, I think it's the 6 month time comparison. The 6 month time comparison, as you'll see over the last few months, those ones and that 5 up there, you see that big number 5? We've got most of those solved by these two individuals. So the 5, and I believe all of those are thefts and burglaries. So if your rise in your theft and your burglary is going to be the two individuals wreaked havoc on Granite City, 2 people. So they're now incarcerated on numerous charges. So we'll see where that goes. We're working with the state attorney's office to make sure they get justice. Any other questions?
Any other questions, Commissioner?
Well, actually, Mayor, I don't know whose jurisdiction this falls into. There has been a sailboat tied up at the dock on Central Avenue. This, Lake Stella, right, it would be too windy on that, I'm sorry, on Lake Stella. Who's in charge of that piece of water? And it's tied up.
No, FBI, Fish and Wildlife, that's their, from my understanding, that's their dock, and the water, of course, we help them in the water.
Well, wait a minute, did Fish and Wildlife build the dock?
It's my understanding that that's a Fish and
If
Wildlife.
it's more, it's your dog, it's your responsibility. So what I need to do is go run the FL numbers on it, figure out who owns it, and we probably find an owner, that's not a problem. And then
It
we'll
looks
do it.
abandoned, really, to me. when I
Yeah,
look
but that's
at
the
it.
problem, if it's more on your dock, I can't tell you what to do, but.
Another thing too is docks, you can't even walk on the dock, filthy. It's just covered with for stuff to do, I'll just say it that way, but
I'm certain we can figure out who it is, as long as we have a holder, the VIN number on or a HA name number, which we call, we'll find a serial number somewhere on the boat, and we'll be able to find the last known owner, and that's who's responsible for it.
thank you.
Commissioners, we know that
Been there a while.
at this end of Central, right on Lake Crescent, we have, that's Fish and Wildlife. So we do know that.
Right, I'm pretty sure Crescent City built the Lake Stella dock.
I thought Keith said that was Fish and Wildlife, so.
I don't think so.
Well,
Okay, well, if it's ours, then we need to get on top of that.
we need to get on top of that because there's also some boards that people can fall through, and we've already been sued once or twice, I think, for people falling through, broken boards on our docks, so, yeah, we need to figure it out, we do.
Okay, well, Captain Esri, I don't think she meant you had to do the boards, but, if you can,
No, that's okay, I found some actually on the other dock.
Right,
Well, I'm just saying as a city, I mean, we need to take responsibility for it, and
Absolutely.
if it's our problem, we need to get after it.
Do you have anything else? Is that it? Okay, that's it. Okay.
All right, and that's all that I have. I am waiting on some feedback from Oakville Electric as far as some cameras and surveillance systems that they have available. And as soon as I get that, I'll be getting with the manager about the parks and all that stuff. So we're still in progress.
We need that. There's been no more vandalism. I've taken over in Harry Banks since taking care of that.
Yeah, we addressed that issue. We spoke about that.
In your office, you're getting.
Oh,
in your
yeah, so
office.
in my office, I forgot about that. Yes, we're getting our office. We've had some setbacks. Obviously, there was some some outdated equipment stuff in there, and we started trying to move some newer technology in there, we had some issues. We're getting that taken care of, that's all money, but we're slowly getting that process taken care of. Apologize, it's been the New Year's and everything, just getting wound back up, so we should be finalized in there within the next coming week, I would hope. So we've got all of our software and stuff in there, everything, most of our equipment and stuff been moved over here, desk, furniture, things like that, so I'm hoping that the end of next week and first of the week after, we should be fully
Operational.
operational. I like it.
I like it. I do have one more thing, and I have seen sheriff's cars in the back parking lot, so that is very nice to see. The one more thing I have, commissioners, is, I don't know if you noticed, but over New Year's, there were a couple of people killed in the state of Florida by what officers in other counties believe was falling bullets from celebratory gunfire, which there is a lot of around here. So my thought is if we could make note for next year to possibly, I think the sheriff's office did this at one time, they have public service announcements about celebratory gunfire. I think that would be something that might help.
I think it was titled What Goes Up Must Come Down.
It might have been, but the problem seems to be increasing in the state of
Yes.
Florida, not decreasing. And I hate to think that some poor person would go outside and, they wouldn't see the deer.
The moral to the story is to own a two-story house. Stay in your house on the bottom floor.
If they'll only figure out firecrackers are a lot less expensive.
Okay. We good? Everybody good? Okay. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
And thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to open up our public hearing session. We've got before us resolution 2025-01, supporting the 2025 Florida League of Cities legislative platform. Do you want to read the resolution?
Happy to, by title only.
Yes, sir.
Resolution 2025-01, supporting the 2025 Florida League of Cities legislative platform. A resolution of the city of Crescent City urging members of the Florida legislature to support the 2025 Florida League of Cities legislative platform.
Okay, I go ahead and move to approve resolution 2025-01.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
I would just like to say that three of the members of the commission here were actually part of formulating this. So it was the first year I was involved, and Commissioner Burton was on municipal operations, is that correct?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Vito was on intergovernmental relations, right? And so we all went to Orlando several times and worked on these. And it was quite a process. It was really interesting to sit there with representatives from the other 411 municipalities in Florida and try and get sentences written. But it was an interesting process. So I'm glad the league is there, and I'm glad that they're there looking out for all of us.
Thank you for your service, all three of you. Do you have any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Villa.
Right, so this came to us a little late, and I talked to Mr. Brillhart about it. I actually forwarded it to him on behalf of the League's Advocacy Committee. So Mr. Brillhart suggested, instead of trying to pass this before the delegation meeting, which most of y'all probably attended today, I was not able to be there, that we would forward this to our legislative delegation by letter. Is that right? Okay, so we will be, or I guess Mr. Brillhart will be sending this to the legislative delegation.
Okay, we, yes, we did. We have a room full of people. Senator Lee and Representative Sapp were, did a great job. They did a great job today. Moving the meeting along and addressing the concerns and different issues that people have. Okay, do we have any other discussion on this? Okay. I'm gonna open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on resolution 2025-01? If so, please come forward, state your name and your address if you will. You know, come forward. Karen, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore? Aye. Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay. So we're gonna go to our second reading is ordinance 2024-16, government surplus trust fund.
Second reading, ordinance 2024-16, government surplus trust fund, an ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, authorizing participation in the local government surplus funds trust fund, Florida Prime, close paren, and providing for an effective date.
I move to approve resolution 2025-0, excuse me, 2024-16, ordinance.
I'll second that.
So we have a proper motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion?
Yes, just, at our last meeting, well, hopefully we made some changes at our last meeting.
Right, if you look at the ordinance, it's in red, those changes.
Yes, there we go. So it's my understanding that we need to, specifically direct, the transfer of funds or the setting the amount of funds that says upon specific direction. So that's great. I see that was included as well. I asked the interim city manager to include information from Florida Prime, and he did that. And as well, this week, I think he forwarded to all of us a memorandum in writing from our CPA, Julianne Klein, that said why she recommended Florida Prime. And then the interim manager, and Michael, if I want to make sure I say this correctly, it's my understanding that we can lose principal, but there has been over 4% rate of return in the past few years. And that the funds are available at any time with no penalty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, so I'm glad that we have that information and that we have the recommendation from the CPA in written form.
And Commissioner DeVito, having worked for the, you know, and I know you're familiar with it too, having worked for the state and knowing how this operates through the state board of administration, I've known people that serve there, and it's, I have a lot of trust in their processes and their decision making.
Oh, sure, there are, I mean, I think the funds are secure, it is an investment fund. They tell us right up front, we don't guarantee that you will make money, but they try their best. And
Nobody ever will. All your finance people will never tell you, they're not gonna guarantee you're gonna make money, but we hope that you do.
Right, well, and the whole purpose of this is to, hopefully earn some kind of income, and we had discussed a CD, but it was recommended that this is preferable.
So if that's all the discussion, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on this? Ms. Sykes, is this one of the issues that you had on your list?
Yeah, it was, I think everything's been answered by the discussion.
Okay. Do we have any other, public comment at this time? If so, please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, I'm gonna close public comment. Karen, would you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore? Aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay, second reading is open.
Mayor and Commissioners, the adoption of this ordinance allows the account to be created before the Prime. As far as the amount to be invested, you want that to come back at the next commission meeting? Or
No, right, you gave the recommendation, we just need to make a motion. That's what it says. But I move that we move $750,000 of our marine reserve into the Florida Prime account, for investment.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Do we have any public comment on this? Karen, we'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore? Aye. Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Mayor Mars? Aye. So approved. Thank you, Julianne and Steve, but, all of you. This, we'll move on to our first reading of ordinance 2025-01. This is the first ordinance for the year 2025. It's a small-scale comprehensive plan, 201 North Summit Street.
First reading ordinance 2025-01, small scale comp plan amendment 201 North Summit Street. An ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, adopting a small scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with section 163.3187 Florida statutes, amending the future land use map designation for a property totaling approximately 0.95 plus or minus acres located at 201 North Summit, providing for a change in the future land use map designation from commercial to public buildings and grounds, providing for implementing administrative action, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
I move to approve, ordinance 2025-01.
I second that.
Okay, I have a proper motion and a second. I don't know if you want Mark to discuss it.
Yes, this is specific to a land use amendment for this ordinance, and there's a timing issue that Mark needs to describe to you.
Okay. Mr. Crowe, welcome.
Welcome, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
This is like, a bit more work, you might be started like I did.
Okay.
Correct spelling of January too.
Okay, well,
It's not uphill.
Just talk about
Did it lock up again?
Does it?
okay. So this is, I'm going to talk about these two ordinances together. You will have to vote on them separate individually. But first of all, I want to talk about an item that is not on your agenda. When this was presented to the planning board initially in November, there was some opposition from the neighbors. That night, no action was taken by the Planning and Zoning Commission on that item, and it was scheduled for the December meeting. Between November and December meeting, myself and the fire chief met with the neighboring property owners to understand what their objections might be to these two items. Really, they had no specific objections to the land use change. What they had a concern about was setbacks within the public facilities zoning category. And so, after some discussion with the neighbors, we agreed that staff would bring forward an amendment to the land development code at the same time that these items were brought forward. So what I'm going to recommend tonight is that if you do pass these items on first reading, that your second reading not be scheduled until March. That will give us an opportunity to bring forward that text amendment to your February meeting. And so then in March, that text amendment and these items can both be second read. And so they will catch up with each other. Does that make sense?
If I'm correct, the public facilities zoning doesn't have any setbacks.
The public facilities currently has a zero setback. And so a text amendment was brought forward to the planning commission, and they recommended approval of that, and it would establish a 10-foot setback. and that seemed to be acceptable to everyone. So, what you have, gosh. No, I don't know what I did with the clicker. Thank you. So what we have here is a small scale comp plan amendment and a rezoning for City of Crescent City owned piece of property located at 201 North Summit. And the small scale amendment is going to take it from it's going to take it from commercial and public buildings and ground, and rezoning is going to take it from GC1 to public facilities. And so what you're seeing up here is just a location map. I'm sure you're all familiar with this location. It is the location of the current fire station. The City of Crescent City, as you guys know, is planning to expand this facility to construct a new building on the site. And as a result of some discussions with the architect, it was determined that the GC1 setbacks weren't going to work with the building that they were designing. And so as a result of that discussion, we brought forward the idea that we would change this property to a public use. So the land use change in the zoning would take it to a public use. And so you can see here, this is the proposed future land use map amendment, taking it to public facilities. And this is the rezoning, taking it to public facilities as well. Now, what was handed out to you tonight are the two staff reports that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Board. Those should have been in your agenda for you to review prior to the meeting. But we're submitting it as part of the record, as we always do with land use amendments and rezonings. This is first reading, and so it obviously will be in your agenda packet for second reading as well. But what those two staff reports indicate is that, first of all, given the proposed use, the public facilities and grounds future land use and the public facilities zoning are appropriate zonings for this site. In addition, what they explain is that these are highly urbanized portions of the city with a great deal of investment by both the state and the City of Crescent City in providing infrastructure. This is an area of the city to which you wish to direct growth. And so both your staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission have recommended approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Pratt?
And, you know, it touches become a comment, but the only reason why this had stayed commercial was because it used to be commercial before the city took it over. It was a commercial maintenance facility for enterprises. So it just had never been changed. We just never had a need to, right? Now we do. Correct.
Well, they probably should have changed it when the fire department was in
Yeah,
there,
sure.
but it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen,
It
so.
never came up, so.
And Mayor, I would like to say one thing. I know it's very helpful to have this report. Thank you. It would have been really helpful to have it earlier, but I mean, sometimes things happen, so I'm glad it's here. Thank you. I noticed on page 3 and under section B, where it says, is the rezoning compatible with existing proposed uses? It says the site's open space along Main Street, that's the backside, will be preserved, and says by place, the impact on residential development to the west, which that's Main Street is the westerly side, will be minimized. And I think that's a really good thing, because it is, you know, Crescent City is a very narrow town between the lakes, and you've got one block that's on Summit, the back of the block is in a residential area. So that to me, is a good thing. And just out of curiosity, what are the setbacks in the GC1 category?
The current setbacks in the GC one, I don't know if I remember them off the top of my head.
More than 10 feet?
Yes,
It's 25.
25.
Okay, that's
On the front, not on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, so, anyway, this report is very helpful and talks about the soils being well drained, which is good because there's a low spot nearby for the cemetery. So, this is very helpful. That's encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, or open it for public comment? Okay, I'm gonna open it up for public comment. If you have any public comment, please come forward. Thank you. State your name and your address if you will. That is option. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Charlie Kirkman, 121 McGrady Lake Road, Crescent City, Florida, representing Church of the Holy Comfort, 205 North Summit Street. I would ask that you amend your motion to approving this on the first reading pending setbacks being included. I just want to make sure that we have the setbacks, exactly like Ms. Lisa said, the cemetery and the property next to us.
Well, in all fairness, that's going to be accomplished by virtue of the fact that you can't adopt it until second reading. So if you don't adopt the text amendment to your code to include the setbacks, on second reading, you still don't pass this and it's not adopted. So in all fairness, the purpose of, or the goal of accomplishing the setback adoption is basically, it's going to be handled through your delaying this until a March 2nd reading so that you can have the text amendment adopted in February. So when you adopt on second reading, you'll have those setbacks included. And if you don't have it included, you won't pass. That's the way it's been set.
I'm happy. Thank you very much.
So you're basically saying it will have to adhere to the text.
Yeah.
To the text.
Absolutely.
changes.
That's what Mark has, where did
Yes.
Mark go?
Thank you.
That's what Mark has engineered by doing this is ordinarily, of course, you'd have your second reading
Right.
next month. But by moving this, the second reading, which is the final adoption, of course, until March, it gives you time to get your text amendments adopted in February, correct?
Correct. First read, then they'll all be second read.
And they'll all be read at the same time in second reading in March, right?
I thought it had to have a separate meeting, a second meeting after the approval, so I thought it was going to be hanging out there, so I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Are you comfortable with that? I mean,
Yes.
does that work? Okay.
Yes, we're very excited about the fire station and the addition. It was just the setbacks, that was the only issue we had, so thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have any other public comments at this time, Ms. Sykes?
No, everything was answered.
Okay. Any other comments? Comments over? Okay. With that, I'm gonna bring it back to the commission, close public comment. Karen, if, you would do a roll call for us, please.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore? Aye. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Mayor Mars?
Aye. So on the first reading, this has been, accepted and moved to the second reading in March. We're gonna go to our first reading of ordinance 2025-02, amending the official zoning map.
First reading, ordinance 2025-02, amending the official zoning map 201 North Summit Street, an ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, amending the official zoning map for property totaling 0.95 plus or minus acres located at 201 North Summit Avenue from the GC-1 General Commercial Zoning District to the PF Public Facilities Zoning District, providing for implementing administrative actions, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date. So my only question is this street or avenue?
It's street.
It's a street.
So the title then should be amended on your motion. If your motion to approve should be amending the title to reflect that it's Summit Street rather than Summit Avenue. The third line of your title states 201 North Summit Avenue, And so you should amend that avenue to street.
We were sent out updated. Or
Alright.
revised, it just wasn't revised on the agenda, because I was reading it off of.
I'm reading it off of the,
Over here. The packet.
memory storage device that I was given.
We didn't get a second set of all the ordinances.
So we've already made that change, Karen?
Yes, that was already made.
Okay.
Well, but it's not before us, so to me, I would prefer, based on the city attorney's recommendation, to go ahead and just,
Okay, you wanna make that motion?
not really, but, is that the only place it appears?
Yes.
In the title? Okay, so, I move that we adopt ordinance 2025-02, amending the official zoning map, for 201 North Summit Street, and changing the title in the third line to read North Summit Street, striking Avenue.
Okay, so we have a proper motion in a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion on this? Okay, seeing no discussion, Mr. Correct, you're comfortable with, or do you need to say anything more on this? You're welcome to.
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna open it up this time for public comment. So if you have any public comments, please come forward, state your name and your address if you will. Seeing no one come forward, Commissioners, I'm going to close public comment. Karen, would you please do a roll call for us?
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore? Aye. Commissioner Bird? Aye. Mayor Myers?
Aye. Yes.
When that is advertised, it was advertised with the improper title, with Avenue in there, is that, it doesn't matter? Okay, as long as it's a Scrivener error.
Right, Scrivener error, that would not be anything substantive that would in any way render the advertising defective.
And the second reading is the
Well,
one that's, yeah, so it's gonna be advertised, the second reading, that's the line on, so.
Just want to make sure.
Okay, we're gonna move on to, first reading of ordinance 2025-03, which is a small-scale comprehensive plan at 122 Central Avenue.
First reading, ordinance 2025-03, small scale comprehensive plan, 122 Central Avenue. An ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, adopting a small scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with section 163.3187 Florida statutes, amending the future land use map designation for a property totaling approximately 0.17 plus or minus acres located at 122 Central Avenue, providing for a change in the future land use map designation from mixed use commercial, providing for implementing administrative action, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Commissioners,
I move that we approve ordinance 2025-03.
do I have a second?
Second.
We have a proper motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion on this?
Well, I have a question for
Okay.
our planner.
Mr. Correct, if you could come forward, please. Do you want to do should probably do a presentation or at least give us an overview before we go into discussion?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate this time. So, technology is not being too friendly with us, so.
Did it just exit it from presentation, from back to presentation mode?
Yeah, I'll just,
We have it in front of us.
yeah, you have the maps.
Okay.
But in a preface to this, this is an application, I'm gonna talk about these two items together. This ordinance, the ordinance next to it, they're companion pieces. One is the future land use map, and one is the zoning piece. The preface to this is in the new land development code, we created a new central business zoning district that is intended to be applied along Central Avenue and north and south along Summit Street in the central part of the city. And that will be coming forward as an implementation action where we're gonna do a mass rezoning over the next few months. And so you'll have an opportunity to look at those changes for that area as it was intended as we went through the land development code. However, this particular property owner, who is familiar with the changes that we made in the land development code, does not want to wait for that process. They wanted to come forward at their own expense and make a future land use change and rezoning, and so that is the genesis of this particular application. So this was heard at the last month's Planning and Zoning Commission, and they're recommending approval, and so is your staff. This is a change when you read the title from mixed use commercial, and the zoning is going from MR1 to central business. So you have a mixed use future land use designation with a multifamily designation under it. Again, you have the staff reports. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but this is similar in the sense that this is an area where this particular zoning district has been custom designed to apply to this area. This is an area that's, in terms of Crescent City, is among the most urbanized portions of the city. The city has a tremendous amount of infrastructure, and your economic development strategy revolves around the idea that this is going to be your central business district. And so these two applications are applying those principles to this individual property. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner, do you have any questions? Commissioner Vito, you have a question?
I did, and actually, first of all, I have an observation on your staff report, which again, we just got. I noticed it's dated December 10th. You might want to make note on the second page, it says to the west of the single family home and the down the hatch pub and grill, that's no longer the restaurant that's there. You might want to just put the restaurant.
Okay.
There's a nice new restaurant by a totally different owner, so that's the one that's referenced is just no longer there, different owners. I'm really not clear on this, and so this in the small scale comp plan amendment, it's going from mixed use to commercial.
Mixed use residential, multi-family residential.
Well, the title says.
The future land use is going from mixed use
Mixed
to
use, okay,
commercial.
I'm sorry, I thought she was talking.
No, the small scale comp plan amendment, 2025-03 says from mixed use to commercial. So they can't do professional office and mixed use?
The way Crescent City has developed its comp plan and zoning, there's a really tight link between the future land use categories in your underlying zoning. Many cities have sort of very general future land use categories under which multiple different future land use designations might be consistent. That is not how Crescent City's done it. So if you note, there's a public facility and buildings future land use category, and there's a public facility zoning. And so they're tightly linked. So the appropriate future land use designation for the central business district is commercial.
Okay, and then I noticed in the.
I just wanted to emphasize that for you, that the mixed use requires that the uses be mixed. Commercial does not, so you're gonna have a solid commercial zone, which is what we're attempting to create along that area.
Because that's what they want to do, is just commercial.
Who's they?
The owner.
Okay, but okay. So in the staff report, it also says The city's CRA master plan identifies this area as downtown activity corridor with rehabilitated commercial buildings and residential dwelling units restricted to the second story or above. Well, when we did the, I don't know, aren't you talking about the land development code also? That, isn't this provision in the land development code?
There is a portion of the land development code that implements that policy that's in the CRA plan.
Okay,
So-
because when we passed the new land development code, that issue was not made clear that the change that we were making would eliminate ground floor residential as a permissible use. So what you're saying is any ground floor residential that exists is going to be a non-conforming use. And we're trying to basically move people who live on Summit and Central out of their buildings.
First of all, the general commercial category is, the GC1 has a similar language, right? So in the commercial district, you have the same restriction. So GC1 already has that restriction. The new central business district has that restriction as well. What the district is trying to do is make sure that the ground floor is commercial and it's energized. So that restriction is in the current land development code.
The one we just passed.
The one you just passed.
Okay, so how far north does that go on Summit?
Well, I mean, you guys ultimately will get to determine that when it's brought forward. The current policy is gonna bring it up to, I believe, Edgewood.
Can a property owner opt out?
You'll be able to opt out. I mean, that'll be a recommendation. I mean, we're talking about two different things now, because we have this particular rezoning and this parcel. Now we're talking about the broader
I
issue
understand.
about rezoning the central business district. So when I do bring that forward, it is going to be my recommendation that you allow anybody who wishes to do so to opt out.
I just want that established so that we don't have concern that we're moving people from their home.
Well, what I have concern about is that it is not, the commercial is, the residential is much more successful than the commercial. And Crescent City has always been characterized by mixed use, and I'm not so sure that this is a smart thing to do. The implications were really not made clear, and although in theory that can be a great thing, in practicality, we might want to give that a second look. But this property owner wants to change from residential to whatever it is so they can have a professional office there. That's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and, all right. And it's not spot zoning of any kind because we have this new land development code.
Spot zoning is a term of art. And basically what spot zoning means is that you're introducing a new category that only benefits one individual property and has no other general benefit to the community. So there's nothing wrong with introducing a new zoning district in an area that is surrounded by, by a different zoning district, if there is a public benefit to it. So that's what spot zoning has to do. We're not talking about spot zoning in this case.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it.
Commissioners, do we have any other questions?
Well, it just seems like what you're trying to do with this new zoning law is really change the whole look of Crescent City. By making it look, all I can think of, by bringing the zoning, to look more like, I don't know, like a cityscape, like, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but you're trying to put all the retail on the bottom and the living, on top. Is that where we're going with the new zoning? I mean, is that what I'm hearing?
That is what the central business district zoning says about residential. It's 7th floor.
See, and I don't know, I'm getting pictures of, Maitland, and I'm getting pictures of, just certain aspects that seem to, like they should work, but that I haven't really seen work, that places that have done that where it really hasn't quite come together the right way. I don't know if Crescent City is ready for that just yet, I guess, in my mind.
But that's not what you have before you today. It's a one individual request by one individual property owner for a comp plan change and a rezoning. You're not
Isn't
talking-
that, okay, but isn't that what Crescent City does all the time, is you say, well, we'll let this person do this, and then next week somebody comes over that lives next door and wants to do something else, and that's an individual one. And I can understand why Commissioner DeVito mentioned spot zoning. Isn't it, it kind of sounds that way a little bit to me. I'm just,
With establishing this new central business district, I believe this applicant is just getting ahead of it and trying to adhere to that now rather than waiting on us to process that. Is that correct? So that he can do with the property what he needs to do.
Correct. And so to move this forward and to separate this, so I want to talk about the larger rezoning. And all I'm going to say about that is that I want to go forward in the next few months with a zoning category that you guys support. I don't want to go to a public meeting, invite 100 different property owners to public meetings, take it to the planning board, and then find out you guys don't really like the central business district as it is currently constructed and the new landowner code. So what I would like to do before I go forward with the mass rezoning, on tonight's rezoning, the mass rezoning, I'd like to have a meeting with you guys and make sure that the policy that we're gonna bring forward to a whole bunch of people and frankly get them all riled up is something that you guys are comfortable with. So, I'll work with the city manager to
Schedule a workshop.
to schedule a workshop.
Okay. And if we go forward with this, if later we change our mind and we're not going to go with that.
It just means that in the future, that this property owner will be able to do ground floor residential if they wish to do something.
Okay, that's what I need that clarification, but is everybody good?
I'm good, and just to clarify, they're just moving from a rental property to a professional office, and even if we weren't contemplating a new central business district, this would be permissible anyway. Did I say
It would be permissible, we'd have to go to a different zoning category, because they're zoned MR, they're zoned multifamily now, right? So they go to GC1, and if they have GC1, oh, by the way, residential is restricted to the top floor. So,
Okay, all right, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with this.
I'm recommending approval of it, your planning and zoning commission is recommending approval of it.
Okay.
With that, I'm gonna see, does the applicant want to speak, or is he okay?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead, and if we're done with discussion, I can open it up for public comment.
Diane Sykes, Crescent City. My question, we just made that statement that it would be a benefit to Crescent City. What is that benefit? Changing this particular property from residential to GC1, how does that benefit Crescent City?
I think, am I correct, I mean, that's for, the planner, but it's my understanding that, the property owner will be able to rent it to a desirable tenant.
People occupied, it'll be occupied.
Right, and it will be occupied, and it's not an offensive use, they'll probably, a professional office will probably be quieter, maybe than some residential occupants.
That is correct, and we're also working within the confines of your redevelopment plan, which has identified this area, as as an area for economic development in the business corridor.
Right, so I mean, if there's a restaurant and office on one side and there's multifamily at the bottom of the hill, and, I mean, it's definitely a mixed area. I don't think that making it professional office is going to disrupt anything.
Correct.
And they can rent it, and, I mean, that's, I don't know, is there a parking issue? I guess not.
They have parking, no, they have parking on the side, I believe they have parking on the side of the building. They have ample parking there, more parking than most people, I think, have on that property, that they have on that property. In that area.
Anyway, so that's my take on it.
Do we have any other public comment on this? Seeing no one come forward, I'm gonna close public comment. Karen, if you'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay. So approved, go on to second reading. We're gonna start with, go to our first reading of ordinance 2025-04. It's companion with that, amending official zoning map 122 Central Avenue.
I move that we approve.
Wait a
ordinance
second,
economic
gotcha, read it, please.
First reading ordinance 2025-04, amending the official zoning map 122 Central Avenue, and ordinance of the city of Crescent City, Florida, amending the official zoning map for property totaling 0.17 plus or minus acres located at 122 Central Avenue from the MR1 multifamily residential zoning district to the CB Central Business Zoning District, providing for implementing administrative actions, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
I move that we approve on first reading ordinance 2025-04.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion? Okay, seeing no one, open it up for public comment. Do you have any public comment? Seeing no one come forward, I'm gonna close public comment. Here, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner DeVito?
Aye.
Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Burton?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye. Okay, so approved to move on to second reading. Thank you. This time I'm gonna close out our public hearing. The CRA, I believe the historical survey is not going into CRA, so we don't have, in my agenda, it has it, but we don't have,
I had to
anything for the
revise
CRA.
I revised the agenda and published it as no CRA.
Okay, just want to make sure. It's 5 till 8. I know Commissioner Lori, do you want to?
Why is it always black?
I'll take a break.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
So we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna do a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
I reconvene our scheduled meeting. And we're gonna start with our business items. We've got, the DRC report with Mr. Newbold, who is not present tonight, so we're going to skip that.
What about the?
Oh, I'm sorry, historical survey, you're correct, I apologize for that. So we're going to do a historical survey from the RFP recommendations. I'm gonna send that over to you, Mr. Philhar.
Yes, good evening again. The city received some wonderful responses, 7 to the historical survey resources survey update. 7, we thought that in review, the scope of services, the cost, the qualifications of the firms were really good. Of the 7, there were 2 that really stood out for our review and consideration. The first one was JMT. The second one was Historical Property Association. Historical Property Association was the firm that actually did the 1995 survey. So based upon that, we believe that these 2 particular firms rise to the occasion of being the ones that we feel could do it on a more effective basis. And the timeline is, once selected, they would be doing the scope of services with meeting with the historic preservation, meeting with council, going in, doing the surveys, looking at the existing 95, updating those properties that would be potential designated as historic preservation properties, taking pictures, taking it through the Florida system, and then bringing back to council for recommendation. As you recall, the city received a $50,000 grant through the Department of State Historical Board through a legislative request. And again, we believe that these 2 firms one of those 2 should be selected.
In fact, to draw your attention to, they actually both got perfect scores. The second review around the Historic Property Association, it has 14 is the total, but if you look at the scores, it's actually 15. So both reviewers gave them both perfect scores. I just want to make sure people notice that. My feeling is that historical property is HPA, so it's called, did that before, why not let them do it again? Of course, I was over 20 years ago, I don't know, there be any institutional knowledge left, but, you know.
What is, do you have any other comments, Commissioner, any questions of Mr. Furlong?
But my only comment is that we need to make sure we keep this going. I mean, we have until July 1st to get this money. We've already lost half the year, because it was awarded June 30th.
My question would be, I guess, between JMT and Historical Property Association, their staffing. We're finding with other companies with not many staff, sometimes that can be a hindrance to the timeliness. So is there a difference in staffing between JMT and Historical Property Association?
I think the biggest difference is that HPA is at St. Augustine, so they have proximity and sophistication as far as knowing the community.
Where's JMT based?
They're out of, I believe it's Pensacola. So what we can do is, if it's your recommendation that the HPA be the one chosen, we can just verify with them that they have the staffing required to be able to complete it. They probably do, but we'll just verify. And if there's any concerns, that we can bring it back quickly.
Is this an RFQ or an RFP?
RFP.
This one in particular was under an RFP.
And so your recommendation after looking at, after y'all looking at this, you believe that, that JMT, is the better choice. And they're actually a little cheaper, quite honestly.
We would accept Commission's recommendation on that, but we'll just verify, number one, their continued interest, and number two, their staffing capability.
Okay. Can we rank it, can we do 1 and 2, just in case from a time standpoint, that should one decide not to take the job, the second choice could step in without having to bring it back to the commission?
That would be ideal.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Diaz.
So actually, I mean, to me, if they have the proper staffing, I would consider that being located so close in St. Augustine would have to be a plus. Just, it makes them much more accessible and this, I don't know, I would just assume, that if timeliness is an issue, that a firm located in St. Augustine, would be better able to do things in a timely fashion. I would rather have someone who is closer. I just can see that working out better for us. And so to me, I would swap 1 and 2 and make it 2 and 1.
Based on.
Well, I think that Mr. Brohart's recommendation is exactly what the mayor said. I don't have his
You need it,
in front of me.
you need it right here. So they had 2 reviewers and both reviewers chose JMT as their number 1, the Historical Property Association coming in as second.
Right, but I'm looking at the memo, Mayor, in the memo, Mr. Brohart said exactly what you did, that he recommended 1, that we choose 1 and we choose another as a backup, and I would just flip them and put Historical Property Association as our first choice and have JMT as the backup.
Okay, do you wanna make a motion, to them?
Sure, I move that, we choose Historical Property Association to perform the Historical Resources Survey update, and, that we select JMT as a backup in case a work services agreement with Historical Property Association cannot be reached.
Second.
Do we have a proper motion and a second? Commissioners, do we have any other discussion?
I did just wanna, Mr. Brohart wasn't here, so it was a small categories matching grant through the Department of State is what we actually awarded this month. It's something that Charles and I filled out. And thank you very much, Mr. Brohart, for doing the RFP and keeping an eye on that. You did a great job, and I'm very encouraged by some of the responses. I was kind of worried.
Well, I have a question for Commissioner Lori. I have never understood what the benefit to us is of doing a historical survey update exactly, because we are losing buildings.
Well, we are losing buildings, but there's also a whole ton that are eligible now, because we first did this in 1995.
Right.
We're supposed to do it every 10 years, so we've already missed, we're 10 years late.
Right, okay, so we're supposed to do it every 10
So
years.
now everything built before 1974 would actually count. Now, I'm not sure the intricacies of that and how that would expand our historic district, but it does have, there's a certain eras that the buildings are from. So yes, it's gonna update, we're gonna see which buildings we lost unfortunately, but it really should be done, and it has to be done.
Right, but are we required to do anything with this? Like, can we use this to establish our local historic designations?
We can use that information in any way we want. It will go into the master site file, which is, kept by the Department of State, and it is,
Florida Department.
yes, the Florida Department of State, the Florida master site file. So, which, those are all supposed to be updated anyway. In fact, there's still, like, the Lion House that burned down in 2006 has never been updated. It's still on the master site file, it's being built, it's being
And
a structure.
my observation is the sooner we have a local historic designation, the better, because there's some mid-century houses that probably would have qualified as historic, but they've been so substantially renovated that they're probably not going to be.
Well, this hopefully will give us an idea of what kind of resources we have, additional resources than what was in the golden era of 1930s.
Well, that's why I'm having this done, so we can hear what we got.
This will also help us with our certified, will this help us with our certified? Yes.
Yes. But certified local government.
Yes, certified local government, so that, I think this is something that's necessary for that. My only concern is that we had two reviewers with J&T. And that was their top recommendation, and how they ranked them, even though they all came out. But we currently have a motion. Do we have any other discussion on this?
No, just that,
I've gone against someone's recommendation before, and it has.
well, I think Commissioner Lloyd pointed out that the scores are almost identical.
They're general, different, department.
Yeah, but
And being-
there's a few others out there that are identical as well. Now, they came forward.
Again, I'm gonna say that my concern is I just wanna make sure that they have the staffing regardless. I'm sure that if they're housed out of Pensacola, that this is what they do, so that they travel. I just wanna make sure that, and I don't know, if your motion truly covers that if, HPA with staffing can assure us that they can have this done in a timely fashion.
We can request that, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would accept that as an amendment.
Okay. I can't do that.
Pardon? Oh, if anyone wants to add, and the HPA would be the first choice, providing they can assure us they have the staffing to complete this audit within the grant.
Is that a substitute motion?
Guidelines.
Is that a substitute motion? Then I'll have substitute a second.
Okay, so
Is that what we're doing?
okay, any other discussion? I'm gonna open up for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none. Karen, give a roll call on this one, please.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Loring,
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Okay, so approved. Again, we're gonna go into our business items, and this is with John Newbold. He is not present, so we're going to move this to the next meeting. We're gonna go to our 2025 Better Place Plan, project funding recommendations. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Mr. Bill.
Yes, at the last commission meeting, there were some discussions about the Better Place Plan and the local infrastructure tax under Florida statute section 212.0552 on eligibility of certain projects. For our review, more specific of those projects, we identified that certain projects would not be eligible under this funding. So we've eliminated a number of those projects, and we've created a new list that's called the recommended for 2025, and it's in your package. If you look at those 5 projects totaling $316,200, all of those projects would be funded under the combined budgeted and carry forward under the Better Place Plan. So for our review, we are recommending that these 5 projects totaling $316,200 be approved. And then in addition to that, we're recommending that the water tower exterior painting project that was formerly in the 2025 list be put in 2026. And that is that the painting of the exterior shell. The interior was painted back in 2024 and is not required for 15 more years. So we believe that the painting of the south tower in the amount of 180 plus or minus should go into the following year, and we recommend these 5 for 2025.
This is just informational. We don't do.
Yeah, I think you would like to vote on this.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, he wants an approval on it, so.
You know, we can, you go still approve these when the projects happen? Or you want us to approve it now and authorize this and you're not coming back to us for?
Well, we've already approved
The renovation.
the architectural design for the fire station.
We didn't, we approved him as, Robert Taylor as the architect. We didn't actually approve the design or the contract.
Not the design, but the amount.
Right, what the process could be is if you approve these project lists tonight, each one of these will be being brought forward to you again as the design and so on is specified for the cost. So yes, this would just simply be establishing the project list to move forward.
and it's Mayor.
Yes.
So it's my understanding, I've forgotten this, the renovation of the area structure, that's already,
So,
that's coming in stages.
yeah, so through your.
Right, we have to do that. We're underway with the fire EMS.
Yeah, we've already.
Right, Lake Street Stormwater Project, we've promised Mr. Tatum that we will take care of the issue with this property. And then we're hoping to get, a grant for the New Moon Masonic Lodge. My concern is if we don't get the grant, we would need, to find funding for the architectural study. But anyway, so,
It's construction documents actually, is what that.
I'm sorry, yeah, we had the architectural study, the actual construction documents to implement the recommendations. So, and I still think that $40,000 is a lot for signs, but, that will come back to us, for the details, correct? We don't have any details, right? Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Give a motion.
I do, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Better Place Plan Crescent City capital improvements list as presented for 2025 and 2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Commissioners, do you have any further discussion on this? Okay. That will leave us with, I guess approximately the 125, 150. Remaining in there, unless some of these were to drop out for whatever reason. The welcome signs, we absolutely, we've been bouncing this around and kicking this can, and it's time to.
Where to put it? Are we gonna replace it where it was before, like next year, we're gonna move it further down the street?
We gotta get the design first.
Right.
When it's through that, then the placement, we know it'll go at the south end.
Yeah.
We know where the south
Electricity
end
at
is.
the south end, where the south end sign is, there's no electricity there, right?
I believe there's some. There's a
There,
light
on the
there.
south side there
Yeah,
is.
yeah, there's a light there.
Or is that?
Yeah.
Okay. I know the north side there was, but who knows what's going on there.
Okay, if we have no further discussion, we'll open it up for public comment. We have any public comment on this? The site, the station name, and your address if you are.
Diane Sykes, Crescent City. I don't have that list. It wasn't,
I can give it to you. We have welcome signs, entry features, $40,000. We have the North Lake Street Stormwater Project, at $130,000. That's Mr. Tatum's property. Also, we have the new fire EMS building architectural design. It's $119,000. The renovation of the area infrastructure, $17,200, which we've already committed to that on a three-year process. New Moon Masonic Lodge is a grant match of $10,000, equaling $316,200. We have anticipated funding amounts, $211,350 from the state in 2025, $230,000 carry forward from 2024, leaving us with $441,350 in our Better Place Plan fund. And then we are moving painting the south water tower until the 2026 budget year.
okay, thank you.
Okay, that is? Yeah, okay.
And
Any other comments?
I was just gonna point out that it says from the state, but this is the 1 cent sales tax that we don't pay in Putnam County. And this is our portion of it that we get.
They get back to
So
us.
it comes from the state, but it's money that we all spend here in Putnam County. So that's where it's coming from.
And it's not just property owners, it's on the sales tax, it's on the sales tax, it's on the sales tax. Okay, if there's no other comment, I'm gonna close public comment. Karen, if you would please do a roll call.
Commissioner DeVito,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
That'd be me.
and Myers.
Aye. Okay, so approved. Thank you, and thank you for both for working on that and pulling that together. Now we're going to go on to the discussion on personnel compensation for 2025. I'm going to turn that over to you. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to bring this item up for discussion based upon current personnel compensation. not only in consideration of current pay scale, but of those individuals, well, there's a number of individuals who are expected and planning on retiring over the next couple of years. In addition, back in 2022, Cody and Associates was hired to do a compensation study whereby they looked at comparable positions for other municipal jurisdictions within the region. And when you look at the existing compensation scale for 2024 of staff, you look at the Cody study, and you look at the number of individuals that have been here for quite a while, and how their pay would compare to other communities within the Cody study, both from the perspective of the number of employees that do not meet the minimum identified in the Cody study, and those employees that do meet the minimum but have been here several years and are not even close to what I would call the maximum level. So based upon that, we believe, or I believe as the interim city manager, that the compensation should be considered and looked at on a more closely basis. I ran some numbers that are within your package at what would occur if the current 2024 end of year compensation budget were to include 5, 7, and I believe 10% increases, what the implications would be fiscally to the city. And so within that, option 1, 5% would increase the level by about 68,000. 7% increase for each employee, aside and apart from the city manager position, would be up to about 95,000, and the 10% would result in an increase of 137,000. That increase is based upon the currently adopted 2024-2025 budget. So from there, I looked at where funds would be able to come from, and I worked with the finance director in consideration of the budgeted dollars and those that are expected based upon the end of year 2024 carry forward dollars, which we're estimating in the realm of around 318,000 plus or minus. So in consideration of the general fund carry forward, the CRA dollars, which we just received in a couple weeks ago in the amount of 150,000 from the county. It's my recommendation that the City Commission consider a 7% increase this fiscal year for the employees.
Yeah, the CRA, that shouldn't change, that wouldn't change, because that's the amount that we would have gotten, and that's what's big factor into the budget, correct?
Actually, thankfully, we got a little bit more than what was budgeted. We got up to, it was budgeted 143, we got in 150, so.
And so to do this, we would have to do a budget amendment anyway, which we have to do to use that carry forward. So that would have to all come to us anyway. But you want to know, I guess, what we need, what numbers to use. Because this would have to be amended into the budget.
That's correct. And you would have to go through a budget amendment, which would take place February and March meetings.
But you really stepped on the headline there as far as the $318,000 carry forward for last year. That's tremendous news and good news. And it is also something that we don't need to go and spend on that right now, but you know, one of the things that they taught us at League of Cities and EMO 1 and 2 is you should always have I forgot what the name is, a fund balance. That's what it's called. And that's what that is a fund balance. It's for things that come up when we don't have, things budgeted or it's a surprise. And so that's a nice cushion, and it's nice to know that we have that. I don't mind giving all of our employees a raise. I think that's great, especially when you look at all the different people who are not up to their category or their range. So that's my feelings, and I think that 7% sounds reasonable. I just want to make sure that they realize it's not going to happen every year. And then, because we do have to have We'll still do a 5% raise at the end of this fiscal year, so that means we'll have to have, so this has fiscal, consequences further on, as well to be able to come up with that money next year. So that's just something we need to think about.
Was recurring,
Right.
so we have to make sure that it's a recurring.
The fund balance is not recurring.
Well, I think you need to come up and have some kind of process where, this is being kind of cost of living, this has been proposed as a cost of living, this isn't a cost of living, this is a raise, period. But cost of living is running right about 1% to 2%. I know Social Security gave out 2.5% this year. But basically, I think salaries should be based on performance. And I don't see that in the city. I don't see a plan for that happening. But that's really the way that it should be done every year. So that you're not just throwing the same amount of money at everybody. It's not everybody, performance is performance. Some perform better than others. And hopefully that type of program, gives you an incentive to perform better, to make more money. Just my thought on that.
My understanding with the 5% that we did previously, that was performance based. Is that correct? The 5%?
If you give everybody a 5% raise, it's not performance based.
No, it was based on their performance, so if they had that.
Performance is you have a bucket, and the lower people, I shouldn't say it this way, but this is the way it's usually done. The lower performers start at 3%, and higher performers, and I'm just throwing that out, can get, let's say 9% or something. And then you go from there, it's not everybody gets 5%. You're right back to what you're doing right now.
And if you have an exceptional.
Unless they were not, and I don't know exactly, because that's not really, we didn't get into that with Charles, how he did those. I know that he had the ability to do 5%.
Well, I think he did it because people were not making, they weren't even close to that.
It was up to 5%, each employee had an evaluation. And so once the evaluation is completed, employees could get up to 5%, and if someone was deficient identified by the supervisor, it would be somewhere less than 5. But Karen, you might want to.
He's exactly right. When we get our evaluations, they're ranked, just like you rank, the city manager. So if we ranked high, it would be a higher percentage, but it wouldn't go over 5%. If we ranked low, it would be 1-2%.
Okay,
So it was
you
just
have something in place.
performance based, yeah.
That should be tied really to, the consumer, what is that, price?
Consumer price index.
Index. So the lower end should always be
At least,
kind of the.
at least cover your insurance.
Then, you're right. So,
I agree.
Sorry, Mayor,
Yes.
could I speak to
Yeah.
the proposal? So, I agree with Commissioner Burton that, regular annual raises should be tied in some way to performance, but I think this proposal by Mr. Brillhart, if I understand it correctly, and please let me know if I'm not, this is, a pay structure. Your title says pay rate, but it's a pay structure adjustment, because, I counted it, about 2/3 of our positions are not within the recommended pay rate done by the salary study. And what we're trying to address is really when we have, is our competitive ability to attract personnel when people either retire or leave. And is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
that's correct.
So this is a whole different animal. My concerns are, and as Commissioner Ward said, because I asked you in an email and you sent that to everybody, the big news is, excuse me, the big news is that we did have a substantial carryover. That carryover is a significant part of our annual budget. It's, I don't know, 33%, it's about 15% of our annual budget. one thing that I would like to know before we do the budget amendment is, why did we have that significant of a carryover? In other words, where are the areas that we are budgeting that are not using that money, or did we have excess income? I mean, or unanticipated income.
I think what we need to understand, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had a carryover year after year after year. And so this isn't a big surprise, because we were expecting to have a carryover, and so that carryover has continued. We're continuing to budget as we have been, but we've got this carryover that now, because of, based on where we are with our finances, our finance department, we have a better handle on how much it is, knowing that we've had a carryover year after year. Steve, am I correct? Okay.
But it's also
Okay.
that we didn't spend all the money that was allocated for expenditures, so we might have had more income. I
But
mean, it's all of it adds up by the end.
But right now, we're trying to give raise to these folks.
Okay, let's just hang
well,
on
they're
there.
asking how we're
Yeah, we're paying for it.
How to pay for it.
Right, so this is really part of a larger issue that we need to address, which is what to do with the carryover, because that has to be budgeted for, correct? Okay, so just some things that I would like us to look at. I mean, obviously, and Mr. Brohart, I really appreciate you bringing this forward, because one thing that we learned at the League of Cities is that municipalities are having a hard time being competitive. And so if we're gonna have to replace positions, then we need to take a look at that. But as well, when we are looking at the budget amendment, some other things that we need to look at are, I think we need to do a little forecasting about what we see as going up in the future, because this is going to be very much, other commissioners have said this is going to be built into our budget and will increase year after year. The sheriff's office, we're in a 1-year contract with them. I think we need to keep in mind, and this is just to figure out how to do this, what kind of increase we might anticipate, what are other needs. When we did the rollback budget, some initially proposed items were cut. I know that beautification was completely zeroed out. I don't know what else was cut.
There's Steve, there's an employee benefit, or employee incentives, I think, that was cut back. And some of the other fluffy stuff that would be great to come back.
Well,
And also making our make our utility funds whole, which is one of the last things that I remember Charles saying is, if we have a carryover, make sure we fix that so that we no longer have negatives on our water and sewer fund. Because
What he's
that,
asking for is that we do a forgiveness, not necessarily we'll use that money for that, but to do a forgiveness, because I don't know that the carryover, we can use that money to fund that. Those deficits that they've
because it's
presented
money
to
that the
us.
general fund owes to the enterprise fund.
No, the enterprise funds owe to the,
No, they gave us ways of other way around.
it's the other way
the
around,
other way around.
yeah.
So then the money.
They know us.
enterprise funds owe-
The enterprise funds owe us,
Okay, well, that's just, right.
But regardless,
So, something that I'm-
I think we need to do some forecasting to make sure that we can afford what we're doing and look at what we're going to need, and particularly liability insurance and the sheriff's office, and who knows what else for next year. So
So
we-
sheriff's office, everyone got raised, right, last October, in the US? So we know that next year we're gonna have to
Well, we
cough
need,
that up for our contract, we would find that.
so I guess what I'm saying is we need to figure out whatever it is we built into our budget this year, can we afford it next year? What is that forecast gonna look like? But, yeah, and then what is it that's important that we took out of the rollback budget? Because Charles had said specifically, maybe when we figured out carryover, we might be able to add some things back in. So, I don't know if there's a list, Mr. Brohart, in your office.
Steve, I think Steve, make sure you get track of it.
Right, so maybe our finance director, could let us know what was cut, and certainly, we probably remember a few things that we talked about, but maybe, didn't get done, but anyway, I mean, I would say, you know, we can, when we look at the big picture, we can adjust our figures, but I agree with Commissioner Lori that a 7% increase is probably good to work with because that brings all positions into the range. Is that correct?
It will be very close, yes, very close.
Yeah.
It will definitely help with us, I mean, it's whether or not they come to work for us right now, or they even go to work for Winn-Dixie or McDonald's. You know, who's gonna be the better, so.
And if you establish this new base, then the next year, commission can look at a more specific performance measurement and tool, so that each employee can be up to a certain amount, but if they don't qualify, then a lesser amount. So it would reduce that percentage. But I'm recommending at this point in time that a catch-up be occurred at the 7% level.
And I agree with that, maybe.
But it concerns me a little bit that, the 95,000 figure does not include, raising the city manager compensation. That's separate, correct?
Well, that's correct. The city manager's salary is not involved.
It's already budgeted as it's currently budgeted, and so it would stay there unless we do something different.
For when we hire somebody to.
But, I thought, is it my understanding is the city manager's salary in range or out of range?
It's out of range right now, actually.
That's what I thought, so, we're gonna have to deal with that this weekend.
Right.
So we might find
But all the ads for the range, I thought it was started at 1-1, didn't it?
In the study, the minimum was much higher than what the current salary is.
So see what you.
Okay,
Well, this also too, if we're doing it in the middle of the year, this is not gonna be, this would be for the whole bit.
this is for the entire fiscal year, correct? And we're gonna be doing it halfway through.
Yeah, it's actually up to you. You can retrofit it back to January 1st if you want.
But the number that you used, that was for the whole fiscal year.
Yeah.
So regardless, it's,
Okay.
unless we're gonna go all the way back to October, which,
And the same thing with, and this was brought to my attention too, something that was brought to my attention is that while we have a 5% increase in the budget, some of those don't get that until their evaluation doesn't happen until July or August. So, yeah, so I mean, so it's all in budgeting. But so at least you know now, let's go ahead and move on with this. At least you know now when you bring that budget amendment to us, to include this, to budget for this.
Again, that's at the recommended 7%.
yes, I'm sure consensus.
Or do we need to vote on that, Dawn, or, because we really, until he brings that to us, I would be uncomfortable voting on it. Are we okay with that?
It isn't implemented until you bring the budget amendment,
Right.
or is that correct?
That's correct.
Right,
But you're looking for guidance as to how to move forward with the budget amendment.
Yeah.
And so the consensus is they can go forward in the 7% range, is that correct?
yes, correct.
Right, but I would also say don't throw this memo away in case we wanna, up or down, who knows?
And, Mr. Billhart, I do want to thank you for looking at that, for our staff, and for looking out for our staff.
We do appreciate their work.
In our future.
Okay, so let's move on to our, discussion and creation of an assistant city manager, CRA manager.
Yes, this one is actually, from my professional perspective, just a changing of title. The commission established an assistant city manager / finance director. And I looked at the job description. I understood it at the time, but I personally professionally believe that at this point in time in Crescent City's career history, there's a lot of development opportunities regarding the community redevelopment agency, the Market Square project across the street. You've got a brand new McDonald's, which is going to generate property, water, sewer, gas income. So I believe that economic development, community redevelopment is the next, really the highest phase for this city. That's just my opinion looking in as an outsider. Having said that, I believe that it's more effective to have another staff person at the level of assistant city manager that has a focus on working with the city manager on economic development, community redevelopment agency activities. And so inside this package, you've got a job description that I've created that specifies why I think the tasks and the position would encompass. Everything from economic development to working with external sources on grants, to a number of things that are more specific to where I believe the city is right now and will be in the next 5 years. So I've created this position and would ask that the commission consider it for adoption.
And I think the reason we created the assistant city manager, finance director position was because of the person that had shown up to fill there. And that would be a Walker. So that doesn't really apply now. No offense, Steve, but but I mean, this does make sense.
He's got his hands full, he has his hands full
Oh,
right
no,
now.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could, well, I think if I remember, it wasn't created specifically for Dale Walker, but I think, Mr. Rudd's rationale was, he wanted, because of, finance directors are in short supply, it might be an incentive to attract someone to take that position. Because it would be a little hook to give them a step up, a path to, management. So, I think this is a very interesting proposal. I like the, mention, the emphasis on having our CRA director also focus on economic development, because, that was, when Mr. Esposito was here, that was my original proposal when I asked to establish a CRA manager to help the city manager, that their title be economic development / CRA, because economic development is just something that Crescent City needs. However, we are just in a couple of days about to be interviewing city managers. So, I'm not sure that this isn't something that just like, we didn't have a golf cart workshop, I was told, because the new city manager should be involved. I think this is something for the new city manager to consider. It's great work, but I'm a little uncomfortable, to me, doing this before the new city manager comes on board. Because they might have a slightly different take. I mean, I don't know, I don't think this is necessarily something that we should do before we hire the city manager, and allow them to give their take on it. This is a lot of food for thought to me.
Well, I think, we're a small enough city, I think the combination of the CRA, manager and the city manager, or assistant manager, I should say, it kind of goes together, more so than what we had as a financial director and the city manager. That seemed to be something that was, what's the word, you really want, could get you into trouble if your financial director is now, for whatever reason, your city manager all at the same time. I just think that the marriage between the CRA and the assistant manager, there's a lot of assistant managers who actually, that's their, kind of their job. If you look at their, responsibilities, is to be almost a CRA manager. The economic end of it, portion of that. The assistant city manager is not a city manager. Now, I'm not sure if I'm making that kind of clear, but they are obviously involved with a lot of different things than a city manager is, but at the same time, works works with the city manager and learns hopefully from the city manager on how to take that next step to city management. So, there's just, it's just a better combination, I think.
Oh, that assistant city manager part kind of says it all. You're assisting the city manager. So, and a lot of those projects have to do with economic development,
Yes.
with CRA, they basically go together. It makes sense to me, plus the person that we have in that position already has taken some of that on and has done a very good job. And I really actually think that we'd rather have her in position and ready to go when we get a new city manager to help the new city manager kind of get accustomed and acclimated. And I think that the person in that position would do a very good job with that.
I agree.
So, and I'm gonna share my perspective on with everybody. Is everybody done talking about this? Okay, you have something else, Commissioner DeVito, before I share my perspective?
Well, okay, just a couple things. I spend a lot of time looking at the redevelopment website, and I don't actually see economic development is an expertise, it's a separate expertise. I don't see a lot of combined city manager economic development CRA positions. I see economic development positions and economic development CRA positions for smaller cities. And then, as I understand it, the current person in our CRA manager position was fairly new to city government and has done the city CRA manager work, but does not actually have economic development expertise. So I was assuming that we would advertise this position and, see if we could find someone with economic development expertise. I mean, just two things. I don't know. We are describing something, I don't know, we're describing something that I think does not fit the person currently within the position as far as their expertise, so I just assumed we would advertise it.
I'm gonna share my perspective. I feel like, for any of you that is spending time with our city manager, our city manager does pretty much have his hands in everything. He has to do everything. That is one thing that I've been very appreciative of Mr. Brillhart when he stepped in. He wasn't just a placeholder. He has actually been an action taker. And he's taken action on many things and not just let them sit. But he's also found, and I value his opinion. I value his opinion, just based on the time I've spent with him. He's also found that he has to play a role in pretty much everything that happens in the city. And it can be a lot, and he's got 5 bosses that are constantly after him. Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Me being one of those. And there's only so much time in the day. We've also set aside Dave as our backup should something happen, okay? Dave is gas. Dave knows a lot, but Dave's not on the day-to-day activity that Mr. Brillhart is involved in. So if something was to happen to our city manager and he had to be gone for an extended amount of time, there's not really somebody that can keep that ball rolling that we have currently rolling. And Charles has found this. I spoke to Charles. I went to Tarpon Springs a couple of weeks ago and got to meet him in his new office. And the one thing he said is, and I think that's been kind of hard for him, is that here he's had his hands in everything. There he has people that do all those duties. But that being said, that I've gotten involved in just because, so that when Charles left and Mr. Brillhart came in, it would be nice that I didn't have to be as involved to let him know about different things that were going on, and that we had somebody here that could do that. I feel like our current CRA, she has, she definitely, I mean, if whether or not we decide to promote her or not into this position, she has definitely stepped up. She's done all that she can. She has an incredible, established a great relationship with a lot of our businesses and property owners, which to me is very much part of economic development. We are a small community. I mean, we're looking at our salary range right now, and then if we want to get the expertise in here of a true economic developer, I mean, you've got that at the chamber. Mark is, let's go talk to Mark and see how much he thinks to bring somebody here would have to be paid. I just don't think we have to be very careful that we don't set our limits higher than we're able to, bring in. And I feel like Christina, as our current CRA manager, her focus has been, and she is shadowing Mr. Brillhart, I believe, right now, and helping out tremendously with his workload. Is that?
It is, and may I add?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, what I think is a critical position, not necessarily the person
Yeah.
in the CRA capacity now. I think 10 years from now, the city is going to need to have an assistant city manager, CRA manager position, irregardless of who's here doing that CRA. Now, having said that, the current CRA manager has a wonderful relationship with the business community. She has dealt with individuals and outside entities on not only CRA, but also economic development and job growth. So yes, I think she would be a good fit. But I think the position needs to be created right now.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think the only reason I brought in Christina is because she's here now. Christina could leave tomorrow, and we would have this position.
You would need it.
And we would need it.
Yeah.
And so I'm supportive of this, just based on what I've seen, being here in the office and just the workload that the city manager has. And everybody that walks through that door, they want to either speak to the city manager, and I think if we had an assistant city manager, that would help as well, because they don't want to speak to the clerk. Even though the clerk might have all the answers, they want to see the city manager. And sometimes his day is absorbed in just people coming in and wanting to spend that time, where an assistant city manager, regardless of who they are, can help in that aspect. So whether we have a new city manager coming on board, or not, depending on what happens this weekend, I think this is a tool that can also better assist that city manager.
Well, if I could just add to that, I am well aware, having lived here for quite a while now and owned our house here even before that, and spent a lot of time coming to commission meetings, and then also coming onto the commission in 2018. The city manager here wears a lot of hats, but I'm a little bit concerned that we're not looking at the overall structure. I asked for an organization chart. We're not looking at the overall structure, and some dysfunctions that I think one of our past city managers, who was here for quite a while, basically put in place. Mr. Kennedy said that he did not feel that he had true department heads, and he handled everything. It is not clear to me, and an incoming permanent city manager might be able to shed some light on this. We're talking about raising the compensation level of all of our employees. Our department heads, I think, have been greatly undercompensated over the years, and they've not been involved in training or giving them as much responsibility as they could have had. And I think one reason that people want to speak so much to the city manager is because the department heads have not had the autonomy to solve problems, and as well, sometimes have not had the problem-solving skills. So we may have a structural problem. There are cities not really too different from our size who do not have a clerk and do not have an assistant city manager. So, I don't know, we're looking at the budget and this position would be a salary increase of $20,000 to $30,000. I think this is good work, but I think it needs to be looked at a little bit more. And as well, the pay level, because that's gonna add to our cost. So I don't think it's an emergency. I think we should do things right, and we should take some time to absorb this and to look at other recommendations about how we could better structure our personnel, how we can spend our money wisely. I think in the future, if we grow, we might absolutely need an assistant city manager, but I'm just not sure we're there yet.
Okay.
Well, and I think that in order to grow, that this position is really needed. So that's my opinion on it.
I absolutely agree too, especially if it will help the city manager and do things quicker, and.
I think we were really lucky with Charles, that Charles was willing to put in a lot of time and run all over the place and like a chicken with his head cut off. And, and he was good at it, but, it doesn't need to be like that. And, I mean, are you entertaining motions or?
I'll be happy to entertain a motion, and I will, go ahead. If you want to, did you want to make a
No, I was
motion?
gonna make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we create the position as recommended by our interim city manager. With according to the recommendations that you presented to us.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? I am gonna say that, having worked with Mr. Brillhart, that I trust his judgment. And I feel that, the knowledge that he brings to us, that I trust his judgment. And I think for a new city manager, I mean, if you look at our applicants, we only have one that's actually been a city manager. And so that leaves me with some concern also that they're, depending on what we do and who takes the job, if we offer it, they're gonna have a lot on their plate. Charles did the same thing, and it was pretty tough on him.
it. Can be overwhelming.
Yeah, he was
It could be overwhelming, and we've got, we've got to work to try to make sure that our staff, is equipped. And I think this is part of that, is making sure that the city manager has somebody that's a backup that they can trust and work with, and as we move forward. So with that, do we have any public comment on this? You state your name and your address if you will.
Diane Sykes, Crescent City. I agree with Commissioner Rita that if you're going to have an assistant, perhaps the person who needs the assistant should be the one to make that decision, as opposed to making that decision for that person, because their criteria. Although I do appreciate, that a job description has been put together, the new city manager might have a different idea of what he or she might need. And if I was in that position, I would want input on who is going to be my assistant and what their criteria would be, based on evaluating what's in front of me and saying, okay, this is an area that I might need help in, so this is the expertise that that person should have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other public comment? If not, I'm gonna close public comment, commissioners. We have a proper motion and a second. Karen, I'm gonna ask you to do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Lori,
Aye.
Commissioner DeVito,
Nay.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. So good, thank you. With that, we're gonna go on to the Department of Agriculture, the forestry grant for 5,000. I think Commissioner Vito, this is the one that you and City Manager Rudd put together, is that correct? Has been approved?
Yeah.
The second go around got approved.
The second go around got approved. I never saw what was submitted. Apparently it's all done online. I sent Mr. Brillhart a summary of what I remembered, just going from memory. There are some pretty tight time deadlines, and one concern, there are some things that, the grant application has the deliverables in it. That's it, what you said you would do. And I didn't see the final. One of them involves one of the first steps, and this is something that I assume the tree board would help with, is having a community meeting or more than one community meeting in the areas where the trees are supposed to be planted to allow the local community to be involved. I don't remember, I'm not sure it's supposed to be a citywide meeting. I think that might be specifically for the neighborhoods, but I don't know, I'm just going off memory. But anyway, the grant, the last time I saw it, and Mr. Rudd was very helpful. We have to provide a match. The match is the staff time and materials.
And the planting.
Right, and the planning. I mean, that's the main staff time. But the $5,000 was budgeted to purchase 20 trees to go to 20 trees at 4-inch caliper, which is about an 8-foot to 10-foot tree in those categories. So they're nice sized trees. They're not seedlings. So that's what I remember about it.
Can you get a copy of that?
Yeah.
She said she
So it would be good to have it, but that's $5,000.
The conditions of the grant, though, that we can get you a copy of the grant, of the conditions of the grant.
Well, we need to have, what you said, the workshop, we need to have a workshop to understand how we're gonna present on this, or get this out to the community. I mean, we really do need to talk to the community about how they want to do this.
Right, but I'm saying you have to look at the grant. I'm not sure the commission itself needs a workshop. I think the
We have
grant,
to hold a public hearing. I think we have to have a public hearing. I believe that's what it was.
No.
Not a public hearing, but we have to involve the public,
right, but I think it's possible, I think the way the grant was written, it's not necessary that the commission hold a public meeting. You could have the tree board or a nonprofit group like the Lawns Club or Concerned Citizens, whatever. The tree board, I think, is the most qualified because they have the most expertise. Particularly because one of the tree board members is a former nursing owner and has a degree in trees. But anyway, I don't think, it's not like a CDBG grant. I don't think, if I'm correct, and I would need to see a copy of it, I don't think the commission has to hold a public hearing.
I'll pull a copy of the grant requirements and I'll send it to you all.
Yeah, but I think it can be much more informal. And it's meant to be in part, I think, educational. But anyway, it's $5,000 worth of trees. And it could, right, bring in some community involvement, which is a good thing.
well, that's gonna be the question, is where do the trees come from?
Well, where do they come from and how would you like?
We actually though we're very blessed because just right down the road, we have quite a few tree nurseries.
There's a new native nursery, Floyd Well.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have possibilities, but anyway, the, one question I have for Mr. Brillhart is, have we received the, subrecipient agreement that is referenced in this letter?
We have not, but I'm going to call the Department of Ag tomorrow and find out when that was supposed to have been sent, so I'll find out tomorrow.
Right, and my other question to them is, there's certain timelines that are built on when you get the grant, and they were delayed because of the storms and making the notification, so what does that do?
I'll find out tomorrow.
Thank you.
And let's not forget our planting season for trees in Florida during the winter months, so.
Well, is it possible that we could be planting these trees next fall? We have to look at what the grant said.
With that, we're gonna go on to our, to additional reports and comments. Before we get any further, I do want to say that, starting tomorrow, for anybody that's interested, we have 2 applicants coming in tonight. Commissioners, I know that you were, advised that we had 1 applicant, the gentleman from Miami. He has dropped out. He has made the decision not to come. We have 2 coming in tonight. We have 2 more, that are coming in tomorrow. And they're meeting here at 3:00. We've got Captain Esri will be here. Christina, our CRA manager, she will be doing the tour and taking them around and showing them around town. And they will be meeting with, all of our directors. And then tomorrow evening, starting at 5:30, for anyone that would like to meet the applicants, we will be having a reception here at from 5:30 to 7. And then the interview process will start up at 8:30 the following morning.
My understanding, they're leaving.
They're leaving, so in order to hopefully avoid having, it gives them enough time to get back on the road, so we're not having to incur another night, and expenses where that is, so.
But I have a question about our schedule. It's my understanding, Commissioner Lori, originally when we discussed this, proposed that we have more interview time that would involve one-on-ones. We are not having that. This is, right, but a half an hour is a very short amount of time for all of us to ask questions and get responses. Since one person has dropped out, could we not bump up the interview time to at least allow 40 minutes per?
Well, I've done that actually, because I didn't fill that 10:30 time slot, and that was my rationale with that, is that gives us an opportunity that if we run over, we're not running behind at the end.
But, so how much time, I don't know that I got to see the latest.
So if you wanted to do a 40-minute time slot, that gives us 30 minutes times, so that would be 4 times 10 minutes, so that would be 40 minutes.
I didn't change the time schedule, Commissioner DeVito, because
Yeah, that's right, it's 10 times, if we wanted 10 extra minutes, that would be 40 extra minutes.
Well, I mean, because this is our city manager, it's a very short time. No, as I understand it, no one has checked references for any of these people. So this is our initial.
She did a background, she did do a background check on that, and of course, it would be my understanding is if we make a decision, we would probably, and this is Jim, and talking to Jim, his recommendation also is that we have a backup, that we have, the first and the second choice, and then they would be doing all those background, all the references, after the fact.
Right, well,
Based on that.
right, so to me, I mean, ideally, well, number one, I hope that we will get a report from Sheila Walker on the results.
Sheila will be here, and
On the results of the background check. I mean, it would be helpful just to have that in writing, if she could wing it out to us, so that we know if there's any issue or not. And then ideally, I noticed most of the applicants provided quite a few references. You know, if we were using a consultant, they would check those references.
They would.
Right, and then that would be something that we could factor in before we interviewed. So we can't do that now because we haven't had anyone to do that function for us. So to me, if we can spend the 40 minutes with each candidate, I think that would help us, because half an hour does not give you much time
No, that's why we were supposed to do one interviews.
We did not say we had to do one,
Discuss
and I
it
asked
twice.
Jim, and I asked Jim about that.
You made that decision on your own, which is a whole nother issue. So we figured it out, but, you unilaterally making these decisions on how this process goes, it's really not fair. Or, according to, we had 2 meetings with the senior advisors, and they described the process we were gonna use, and we all discussed it, we asked questions about it, and we all agreed to it. And we appointed you to be the coordinator, not the decider. And you went ahead and decided, but, if that's what you think is best, that's fine, but I just want to point out the fact that, that was not the way it was supposed to be, but you made a decision.
I don't recall that we said we were gonna have one-on-ones, and I asked Jim about that, and Jim said Jim said, I never said either way, one-on-ones, and when I look back on his recommendation, it doesn't say individual interviews, with that. And so the other part of that you must be, aware of, is that we are not skilled in HR and interview processes.
And meeting as a group is gonna make it better.
Well, I would hope we would have our HR director there, otherwise the HR director should have to sit in on each one of our interviews.
No,
That's your opinion.
it's never,
I mean, it
And so,
doesn't matter.
I mean,
We're gonna make the decision, so we're gonna do it that way. But we have 4 very qualified candidates, so hopefully we will be able to interview them.
And in
as
the
a
past,
group, and it not be disrespectful like it has been in the past. Because that is frankly dehumanizing and just uncomfortable for me and for the
well,
applicant.
when have we ever been dehumanizing and uncomfortable with an applicant?
When they sit here in front of us and we sit there and
Well,
shoot.
they should, the public, no, wait a second,
that's-
wait a second, the public, also in doing it in open, if we're gonna interview them and ask them the questions, you're gonna be doing it in private,
We don't
and
know
then,
what you're
and then
asking.
we don't know what everybody's asking and how they're answering, and then what's happened when that's happened in the past, they come up here, we ask them one question. They have one question, because we've already made up our mind, the public doesn't have an opportunity,
The public has an opportunity.
the public does not have an opportunity to hear them answer those questions and to know how they have responded in those interviews. And this keeps it very transparent, it keeps it very open to the public, so that nobody can be accusatory that we did anything, in private. And so, me making that decision,
Which you made without discussing it with us. You just said it.
Well, okay, let me just finish this up a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last interviews that I've had in my life have been with teams, where they sit there, they bring the people that you're gonna be looking for.
You can tell, we're overheated. I don't want to sit here and talk about this, so I'm done, thank you. I haven't talked to you.
well, then, Mr. Laurie, you can be excused from the meeting.
Thank you, because I'm leaving early. Hold on, or not.
Wow.
Can't control me.
I can't.
Nobody is trying to control you.
Well, you told me I can leave, thank you.
No, I just said you're excused from the meeting.
You guys have to be excused.
No, I don't. I can leave.
Here you go. All right.
That's fine.
Rachel, will you come help me, please? You do it. Well, I was trying to do that.
I wish you handed it to me, no, put it on there. Okay.
Got it. No, that's okay. It's not anybody's way, it's fine.
Sure.
Well, that's what we do. Okay, we're gonna go back to discussion. And Commission, I do apologize, I thought we were doing the best. I've been back and forth with George, with Jim on this, and every decision we've made, he's been aware of it. And really thought that that was the best way to do it, so that the public had an opportunity. We will have an opportunity tomorrow evening to meet those candidates one-on-one.
I just wanted to say, every, interview that I've had, probably in the last 10 to 15 years, have been with at least 5 people interviewing me all at once, from different departments and, whatever, to get a feel for who I was, right there. I mean, and yeah, it feels like, wow. I think the first time that it happened to me, I was very surprised when I walked in, 5 people looking at me, and then just, asking questions. That's the way they do it a lot now.
Okay,
So,
hang on, I don't see anything wrong with group interviews. However, my concern is that, half an hour is just a very short amount of time.
Okay, and I've already said that we can add more to it.
We need to, because most to me, and this is one of the problems, of being on a budget and using the senior managers, they want to get everything wrapped up and they tend to want to do it their way. I have a difference of opinion with them. I just don't think this interview process is set up for us to spend enough time with people that are going to be our, chief officer. So I understand why Commissioner Lori may be upset, because it's a very, very significant decision. I'm glad that we can add the extra time. But to me, and just going forward, anything similar in the future, it might have been better for us to have a short meeting about the meeting so that we could get our ducks in a row. There's obviously been a lot going on, but I just think to make sure that we all, have our say and are agreeable, that maybe sometimes a little short meeting to set up something like this would be better. But we're in it now, and so we want to have a good interview process. And so just a little more time, and the only other concern I have is, sometimes those references can change your opinion of someone. So we need to work together and do a good job. And does everyone have the list of questions that the senior managers gave us?
I have it in my office. If you don't, then we'll have it available to everyone tomorrow afternoon. They can pick it up so they can go over it.
Right, and that's supposed to be, not shared.
Not shared by anybody.
The senior managers thought that was confidential, kind of as a test. So, don't show it to your daughter, your husband, or whatever. And then, I don't know, to me, what are we going to do in that when we get together? Are we going to, we plan to make a decision tomorrow pending the checking of references? Is that
On
plan?
Saturday, yeah, on Saturday.
Okay, if we're happy with what we see.
As long as everything comes back, yeah.
Okay.
And so far.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but having been to this a few times, first of all, references are great, but you hardly ever find anybody give you a reference who's not gonna say something good about them.
Well, the other thing.
If they do give you a reference who's not gonna say something good about them, then you probably ought to reject them out of hand for not being smart enough.
And I agree with you, and I had to do that, and I made sure that I checked with all my references that they would give me good comments.
So I found that your investigation or inquiry is certainly critical. I agree with you in that regard, Commissioner DeVito. I think it's critical that you check with their previous employers, whether or not they're, and especially if they're not listed as references. And that's a difficult process in a governmental scenario, because I know as city manager of the city of Blackett and as city attorney, I made the calls. And it changed the assessment of some of the candidates completely when previous employers were queried about that particular person, not necessarily references, but previous employers. They would say things to you, but it wouldn't have said them in an open setting on a speakerphone or something like that. It was You know, they say things, something to you after you establish a little bit of rapport, and they feel like they can talk to you. And that's been the most striking thing for me in watching the city go through city manager interviews is some people look great on paper. And they'll give you some references that'll say great things about them. But the world changes when you talk to some folks that may not be there, but that were previous employers. And I don't know how you got Michael. I'll give him a shout out. I think my contact and conversations and communication with Michael however you picked him, you did a great job. My conversations and contact with him I've been very impressed. But maybe you'll get lucky again, but we all know from looking around that everybody doesn't get lucky on these choices. The big thing, all I want to say is before you give a contract to anybody, I sure would like to see it.
Oh, absolutely.
I sure
You'd be
would.
writing it.
And I sure hope you build in a probationary period that allows you I'm sorry?
To get out of it.
To get out of it, exactly, without penalty.
Yeah.
And, because in my opinion, in a small town like this, even more than in a big town, this position is critical. Absolutely critical. So it's tough. I agree, a 30 or 40 minute interview, wow, that's tough.
And we can't do it for days though either.
I understand.
We gotta get our ducks in a row.
And the other thing, I mean, and I'll say this, is that, you know, these are timelines we needed to provide we wanted timelines. I feel like if we need to extend it, if we find that we need to extend it, we have that option to extend the time. That if we,
For the city manager search.
no, for the interviews.
Oh, right.
So if we get to that 11 o'clock hour and we're still in interviews and we're
Yes.
running behind, and that does happen.
Right.
That happened, I know when I interviewed, and they had to come and tell me, listen, we're running a little behind. You know, if you just please be patient, I'm okay, I feel okay with that. And I'm not going to, I apologize, there was a misunderstanding. I thought as the coordinator, you were asking me to set this up, and so we've done that. I didn't mean to preclude anybody from having a one-on-one.
Well, I'm not so hung up on that as I am, to me, and you know, we don't do this that often, so hindsight's better than foresight. I certainly want us to have our ducks in a row, and I would, you know, we want to look good to the applicants, so I have a couple of questions before we break up here. From number one, from Mr. Holmes, do you have a contract that you recommend? Because we're gonna have to be prepared to offer one of these people a contract.
Normally, what happens is you make a selection subject to negotiating the contract. I have the contracts that I've done for a couple of city managers at Palatka,
Right.
and they were contracts that I put together from other, you know, other city manager contracts. And I have those, including the last one that I had. So, you know, I have that. But again, when I agreed to be city manager and the last two that they chose, they made a choice contingent upon arriving at a contract. Because, you know, you don't want to give them a take it or leave it contract.
No.
You want to negotiate those terms if there's a need for negotiation.
Right.
And mine did that, when I was city manager, when I was selected as city manager, it was several weeks out before the contract was brought back to the commission for approval.
And that leads me to my number one question with all four of these candidates, and Commissioner Burton, I can't see you, but I'm talking to everybody. To me, one of the most critical things to ask each and every applicant so that we know what we're working with is, do you have other irons in the fire? If we make you the offer, are you truly interested in coming here? Because one of the ways, I mean,
I did that with Mr. Esposito, he was number 2.
Right, I'm happy that we still have these 4 candidates, but I'm also a little nervous because, you know, I'm just amazed that we still have 4, because people usually have a lot of other applications. So for us, and I don't know if y'all agree, but this is something I think the first thing we ask each applicant should be, and if you wanna figure out how to ask it, that's fine with me. You know, do you have other options that you're thinking of taking, or do you have a timeline that we need to meet? I just think we need to know where we stand, because if we really like someone and they have other opportunities, that makes a difference.
I wouldn't ask them that first.
Not first.
The first thing I'd ask them is, if they're married, has your wife been here?
Well,
Or if it's a female, has your husband been here?
And only one is bringing his wife.
Right, but I guess maybe not ask it first, but make sure that we know, where we stand with them.
That was Commissioner West, that was her primary question, has your spouse been invited?
And then, you know, I guess we'll wait until we meet at 11 to decide who's gonna, if we make a choice and a backup, who's gonna negotiate the contract for us. Have we talked about that?
No, but I think that would probably be, if we would ask Dawn to do that,
That's fine with me.
unless Dawn's uncomfortable helping negotiate that contract.
Oh, no, I mean, I have no problem, you give me parameters, of course, and, you know, I'll go with the parameters you give me, but, I understand about asking about other opportunities, but I don't think you ask that first. I
Okay,
think,
well, that's fine,
I think the bargaining, you know, leverage there is, I just don't like the feel of them saying, well, yeah, I've got three other places that I'm looking at real hard, you know, it almost puts the onus on you guys to try to win them over. But I do think it's huge that you're doing that tour.
Yeah.
And if they've got, and I didn't mean to be funny, I think that their significant other or spouse.
Yeah, it's important that they wanna live there.
Exactly, 100%.
Live in, you know, Putnam County.
And then the next question is, are you gonna give a geographical restriction? That needs to be decided before you walk into the place. Are you gonna make it a condition of their employment that they live either in the jurisdictional boundaries of Crescent City or within the county or within a certain range, mile radius of this location? I think that's something else that's gonna be a big deal for them.
Right, I think if we could pull, if you could pull Charles's, he was our last, if you could pull his, contract and provide a copy to all the commissioners, so they have something reference to look at, to see where we were. I think that would be good, because we have been outside the city limits simply because they've had difficulty finding housing here.
Yeah, I mean, Michael's a testament to that, aren't you?
So
It's tricky.
it's very tricky in Michael's, especially in a expedient.
And you also have to remember, you do give them a 6-month probationary period, or whatever your probationary period is. They're not gonna wanna buy day one. They're gonna wanna rent for 6 months at least, and so they don't have to try to buy and sell a house. And the rental market in Crescent City is tough, isn't it?
It's difficult. There's not a lot of housing.
Charles did that, he bounced around from Airbnb and Airbnb for probably at least
6-7 months.
Yeah, until
Till he found something.
until he found a permanent rental that he was comfortable taking with the understanding that, at will, at 6 months.
Well, and he was gonna stay here for a while.
Yeah, and he was gonna stay here for a while.
Because
So,
that's the other thing, they may decide that.
I feel that, tomorrow, they'll get a good feel of the community. And I do believe that the reception tomorrow night, I probably should have said this earlier, but Commissioner Lori did mention to me the other night that he had reservations, that we weren't doing a one-on-one. And I did share with him, and the only discussion was at that time was that in a one-on-one, that I felt like tomorrow evening would give him an opportunity to meet each candidate. And that's the whole reason for us having the reception, is we can meet each candidate, we can get a feel for how they are in the public, And if you can't answer the questions up there in front of everybody, how are you gonna sit over there? I mean, that's kind of my, if you can't answer the question there in front of a group of people, and, it's gonna be pretty difficult for you to possibly sit
But the
there.
other thing is, we did not interview Charles Rudd in that group.
Northville,
Northville.
Northville, nor the last one
Yeah,
either.
we have not done that one-on-one. We've always done it in a public forum.
Well, I think there's a lot of credence to what you said about a one-on-one interview, not giving the remainder of the commissioners or the public the benefit of hearing what you hear in the one-on-one.
I mean, it's kind of like, hey, you know, I can drive.
Well, I don't know.
So, but I feel tomorrow night will be good. Ms. Sykes, did you have something?
The commission, did make you voted to make an exception for, to live outside of the city limits.
No, we allowed Esposito also.
Okay, so that's because you don't like that.
Esposito's, yeah, we did that some time ago,
We
yeah.
have a 30-mile
But-
radius.
30-mile radius.
I believe it's 30 miles.
30?
Because of the emergency meeting, we have hurricanes in Florida, and sometimes the city manager has to come in and make decisions that have to be very timely. They can't live 2 hours away and expect to come in here and make an emergency decision about a hurricane. And I mean, I will remind you that we did have a commissioner one time, who did sit up there and say in front of the public, they got 5 kids, his wife's not gonna wanna move here, and it's like, can't say that, that's familial discrimination.
And we understand, and that's why I'm saying that we're not trained as interviewers. We don't have that HR experience.
Right.
And so that was part of it too, is that I really was thinking that it was more for the protection of the candidates, for us, and for the public. And so, that's why we are where we are, but thank you. And as far as hurricanes, everyone that I've worked with so far, when we've got a storm, they are right here, boots on the ground, knowing that they can't be that far away, and so.
And so are your commissioners, by the way.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
pretty much right here.
Yeah.
So,
But Mayor, ideally, to me, I would like to have a city manager candidate who actually wants to live here. That would be the ideal thing, someone who is drawn enough to Crescent City and is willing to be all in and make that commitment. And we have realtors here, we have people buying houses. I think in large part it is, do you really like this community? And that's what I want to find out. So I'm just hoping when we get together, and Mr. Holmes, I appreciate your recommendations, not to ask them right up front, but I think we need to try to work together to make sure our questions are balanced. We'll all have that list, if I can still find that. Can you make some extra copies available?
We'll make
Okay.
sure that you have extra copies, and
It might
we'll
be-
do it like we've done, we'll start, and each commissioner has the opportunity to
Sure.
ask one question, and we'll go around until we run out of questions for that
Right.
person, or we feel comfortable enough, so.
So, and to me, I'm gonna listen to what my fellow commissioners ask and try to make sure that we kind of covered all those bases that she would want to cover. Even if it's not my favorite question. I'm just gonna try to make sure we get to where we need to go.
Well, and I think that also, I mean, I'm not gonna repeat the dead horse, but it's beneficial because there might be a question that Commissioner Moore might ask that I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that. Thank you for asking that. That on a one-on-one I would have never asked or thought to ask. And
Okay,
so-
so we can ask other questions then.
yes.
Oh, yeah, that's just a guideline. Yeah, that's just a guideline.
Oh, and one thing that happened with the interim city manager position, are we going to start in with questions? Or are we going to ask them to tell us about themselves? Because we don't have much time.
I thought we would ask them to go ahead and start it out and tell us about themselves, and then from there we would lead into questions.
Okay, because we have their resume. And a couple of the candidates, we didn't give them a time limit. And we wound up with not very much time to ask questions. So.
Give them a time limit.
Yeah, you can give them time on that.
We can give them, we've got, we can do that, and they can sum it up.
So how much time do we think? Because I would rather ask them questions and hear their answers than, I don't know, a couple of the interim manager people just went off the rails, you know,
Well, we'll ask them to give us their elevator pitch, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. I think that's great.
So they'll give us their elevator pitch of 3 minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself. Can you do that? Do you think you can do that in 3 minutes? With the understanding if they go forward, it's okay.
Sure, but that will show us, you know, can they do an elevator pitch, which is
Yes.
very helpful, so. And then we can ask our questions.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we got that out there and that we had that discussion. Thank you all for that, and,
Okay, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I think we've got just a few more things. City manager report, we have any questions? Everybody good with the city manager report?
I have one question. This was in the email that I sent. There are a couple of gas department items that seem rather pressing. Do we need to put some attention to them? And, also I ran out of time, I was gonna send that question to Mr. Holmes. There are 2 items that our gas department director, David Frank, brought up that he says need fixed. One apparently has a $40,000-$60,000 price tag, and in the past, when we had an issue like that that involved liability and obviously loss of service, the city loaned the money to the gas department. So I'm just saying, is that something that we need to look at, or for the city to assist the gas department?
We'll put together a report, a memo outlining the time frame and then the specific issue, and we'll send that out within the next week.
Okay, because sold caps for a couple months in a row kind of gets my attention.
I think they still owe us money, so
I'm sure
the
they
tab
do.
is just gonna get bigger.
Okay. Ms. Commissioner Moore, did you have a question? Okay, we, also we've got some workshops. We have our, golf cart workshop that we don't want to go to the wayside. So we will schedule that. I just want to keep that moving so that whenever we do get the new city manager, that we can do it at that time if everyone wants to. Really, this week was kind of a rough week because we're in transition with our clerk.
Yes.
So that's.
Well, speaking of workshops, I think we need to talk about our parks. We need a workshop on our parks. I mean, we've got growing equipment, we've got toilets that aren't working anymore. We need to try and have a workshop and figure out how we can, what we're gonna do with all that. I think we need a workshop on, actually a meeting with our retail stores that have grocery carts, and have them come up with a solution on how to get them out of the city. I went around the other day and found about 10 of them, a few, flipped over and, they're just all over the place. And I don't think it should be up to the city to gather them and bring them back to them. They need to come up with an idea that they stay on their property, or they come gather them. I don't care.
Mr. Holmes, can you help us with that?
Can I help you with getting the cars back to the place?
No.
I mean, you're loaded in the back of your truck. Loaded in the back of your truck. I think what we as the city, we would probably have to do something as an ordinance. But it's easier than, I don't know that they're gonna come because a lot of them are not corporate owned. And so,
Are you talking about primarily Winn-Dixie or?
Dollar General and Family Dollar.
Anyone who has a
believe
cart.
the number
Yeah.
of carts that are in the city, just laying around making us.
That's nothing new.
And they have carts that basically lock up and
They
you have
have
to take them outside the store.
corporations now, and they are corporations, and they can afford to do something about it.
That's why I was asking, are you talking about something like Winn-Dixie, or are you talking about a mom and pop operation?
No, it's changed, that's why I said, can you help us with that
Think so.
idea?
Yeah.
of that?
Because it's becoming more and more of
Sure.
an issue.
I thought some of them were like self-driving, there
They
are,
could be, you never know,
right, because they're traveling.
you never know, they're traveling.
And it doesn't look good.
Mr. Holmes, do you have anything for us?
Just very briefly, I don't know when your last day is, Michael.
We don't know, we don't know yet.
Are you gonna be here for another meeting or not?
You might be here for you.
Yes. Good possibility.
So does your wife like Crescent City?
How many kids do you have? He's missing snow right now.
I don't know.
So, the only reason I asked was because I just wanted to give him a compliment. I think that to step in on an interim basis, and as you say, not be a placeholder, but actually be somebody that tries to move the city forward. All my conversations with him and contact, whether it be in regard to the Market Square project or whatever, I've been very impressed. So, probably brought a lot to the table for you.
And even today, I mean, he gave a legislative, and he just been with him, and, I'm very impressed.
It's tough to step in on an interim basis and
It
really
is, it really is.
take the reins and go.
And he's had to deal with all of us and our antics, and,
Or one other thing, though, I think the commission, needs to have a discussion about, some of the contracts that should be coming up, or, that, one of them would be our planning and zoning, contract. The other one would be, let's see, what do we got? Planning and zoning, or, finance, okay, I've got a problem right now with, not our finance director, okay? But I do know that Julianne's been here now for quite some time. And of course, it's all been hinging on our auditors, which we need to get it kind of closed up and decide whether or not we want to keep James Moore or not. Because their particular question, when we keep asking, are you done with the 2023? And they can't really give us an answer. There was a section there that said, well, due to manpower and stuff, they're not sure when they can get to it. That's the wrong answer. Okay, if they're not big enough to handle us with one last thing that needs to get done, once they're done, we need to start looking around, I think, for a new monitor. I'm sure there's one out there.
Well, wait a minute, we hired them on, I didn't vote this, but they're hired on a multi-year contract.
Well, we need to, that's what I'm.
Well,
going to
right
say.
now,
We need to
before we
look at
go any
contracts.
further with this discussion, we need to get our audit. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not an agenda item.
it's not an agenda item, so, we need.
Well, I don't want the discussion now,
No, I know.
but at some point, we need to start talking about this.
I understand, but we need to get our audit.
But actually, I just want to say, I think Commissioner Burton brings up a great topic for a workshop or meeting, because I do think it's very important that we look at our contracts, and it's a late hour, and I can't remember the whole list. But it is very important that we make sure we are getting full value for every contract that we have. That, I think that's what you're bringing up, right?
Yes, exactly.
That we get full value, that we're happy with the performance, and even if it's a multi-year contract, we still need to be happy with the performance. So I agree, that is an item for the.
Yeah, I think it's
And if it's a multi-year contract, you may have a
It might
state
be
clause.
out, yeah, the state clause, so we might have to- we'll have to look at all that, but, before we adjourn, and this is a little sensitive, but I do need to bring it to, our commissioner's attention. Staff has shared some concern that they're getting, emails directly from commissioners. And those emails are not going to the city manager. We all know that we should not be doing that. And of course, Mr. Billhart cannot, we're his bosses, so he cannot really scold us or correct us on that. But as we go forward, we just need to make sure that any correspondence, that we have or direction, and even if we're not giving direction, staff, sometimes it can be confusing for staff, that are we directing them to do something, and they shouldn't be doing that without having the direction from their direct supervisor. And so this is a good opportunity, we're gonna be starting fresh, that as we go forward, that we all make sure that we're cognizant of that, and that we go directly to the city manager, Mr. Brillhart currently, and as we go, whoever comes in after that, that all correspondence is directed to him, and requests are directed to him. The clerk, I understand, and our clerk is a little different. Some communities, the clerk doesn't even work for the, city manager, but it works directly for the commission. Our clerk, we all have a relationship, we have to get information back and forth. If you do happen to send something to the clerk, it's important that we also copy the city manager on it, so the city manager knows everything, that he's aware. And we've all been in leadership positions, and we know how difficult it is when you're caught by surprise, or you're doing one thing and you find out your staff is doing something different, and it's because they felt that they got that direction. So as we go forward, this is just some housekeeping that I'm just bringing to all of our attention, myself as well. We've all got very comfortable with that, and so we just need to be aware and in fairness to the city manager and to staff, that we allow him to be the supervisor and the director of I guess these emails. And Mr. Holmes, Commissioner Lori has left. I'm gonna ask if it's okay that you could please share that with him,
We have to.
that he knows that. And are we off base with that, or is this something that you, having your experience as the attorney and also as the city manager, do you wanna share?
No, I think that I understand the tendency, especially in small governmental entities, is for commissioners to speak to department heads and employees, but in a true commission manager form of government, the manager should be the conduit for communications between the commission and the staff. And, you know, from both a practical and legal perspective, there's just something inherently coercive about a elected commissioner speaking with a department head. And if you don't think that you don't intend it to be intimidating or coercive in nature, a lot of times there are things implied or inferred by the employee that where they think they're getting directions directly from you. And as a matter of true ethics, governmental ethics in a commission manager form of government, you have, don't mean this to sound the wrong way, but no individual commissioner has any authority. It's only as a collegial body that you have authority, and together. And so, from a practical perspective, it makes it impossible for a city manager to keep track of what's going on if he's got individual commissioners talking to department heads, and department heads trying to respond or make commissioners happy, and then only in the end, the city manager is going to be held responsible for the performance of his staff. So it becomes problematic. And I remember I stopped short of saying you can't talk to people, because you know you can. I mean, it's a small town. You're going to talk to staff. It's just that you have to be extremely careful with it to make sure they don't feel like they're being given directives from you, and also that you don't cut the city manager out. So, no, I look the opinions. As I said, I've faced this a number of times over the years, and there's ethics opinions all over the table saying that in a commission manager form of government, this is supposed to be your supervisor of staff, and you're supposed to deal with him or her, whatever it might be in the city manager position.
And I even heard a comment tonight from one of us that said they'd given a directive, or they had told our finance director to do something, and that we should not, that just kind of played into what I already been, so anyway, with that, thank y'all for tonight. I think we've had a good meeting. I think we've had some good discussion, and again, I'm going to apologize once more for the misunderstanding. I'm not gonna apologize for how we've scheduled all of this, but for the misunderstanding, I thought as a coordinator, you were asking me to go ahead and coordinate this. And okay. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Do we have any other discussion? Do we have anything else? Does anybody else have anything? I know she's eager to, I'm just trying to hold her at bay to keep from making her motion.
You know what my motion is gonna be.
Yeah. Is everybody
Make a
good?
motion to adjourn, please.
I'll second
We have a motion and a second. We'll see everybody tomorrow evening, and also, well, we've already adjourned. I have not had any contact with any of the applicants, which has been very difficult.
Shortest of what I've been to in months. 9:55, no extension.
Hey, there you go. I want to be done at 9:30. I.
Mine was thought it would get me out of there at 7.